Office still stands for talk? No.
I love that at the end there. That nice. What's up, everybody? Good evening. Good evening. More documents and some other breaking news, real quick. I was kind of shocked to hear this about the Delphi case. So we'll go into a couple-minute video in the intro. I don't know. It just gets crazier and crazier. We haven't covered Delphi for a while. We might have to here coming up in this next week here soon. There's so much. I've been saving a lot. Even though we haven't covered it, I've been saving a lot. Let's see what you think about it. Good evening, everybody. We're going to be going into the new docs. We're going to be going into the digital forensics, the cell phone stuff. The Presumption podcast had a great conversation, and we're going to check that out. And we're going to get into a little bit more of the University of Idaho and Phoenix stuff. Yeah. Amongst other things. So we'll go ahead and say good evening to everybody. Good evening, Cherry number 5. Welcome. Thank you. Kib Kitty, what's up? Detective Golden. Yeah, I had to bump it back just a little bit. Detective Golden, ticket number 7, just 15. Bianca, ticket number 8. Be back again tomorrow morning as well, covering more stuff. 3 new documents tonight. We'll be going over those. What's up, Katrina? Ticket number 9. Bianca, Mark, and Betty, ticket number 10. What's up? Good evening. It's gone bloody cold here. Really? I was number 1. Uh-oh. Good evening. What's up, Scarlet? Sandy Toes? What's up? Sunny Curve, what's going on? Ticket number 14 in the house. Ooh, we got to see where Judge is at, too. You think he's cracked 4? Please hit the like if you haven't yet. It's the freeway. There's the ninja. Ninja what? Ninja who? Ninja where? What's up, Truth? How you doing tonight? We need a freaking game night. I was going to do a game night Sunday night, and it didn't work out. We need a game night soon. What's up, Dark Fairy 79? How you doing? D. Marie? What's up? There's Miley. How you doing, Miley? New docs, 3 of them. What's up, American Princess? What's up? Ticket number 26. Oh, I'm sorry, Detective. I'm sorry. Usually it's Judge number 358. 2020, and it's her. Yes. I'm off tomorrow. All right. We'll be having a show tomorrow. We'll be going. There's just, oh my gosh, there's another video. What is going on? There, listen, I've got so much. What's up, Pammy B? Thank you for hopping in. I got so much for so many other cases. So if there is any other cases you guys would like to have a show about, let me know. But there's just so much to go over still. Right there. I broke it down to one piece of paper, and we covered that much today. So that's crossed out. That's what we covered today of this piece of paper here. Judges over 4K. Let's see. And the judge, John Judge, is now at, drum roll, please. I don't have a drum roll. What is it? Oh, no, it is 3.1991. 3.91. Almost there. Almost there. If you're not subbed to Judge, here's the link. If you know friends that aren't subbed, copy the link and share it with your friends. Let's get Judge. How does Judge only have 3.91? This is Judge, people. This is Judge. Oh my gosh. Look at this. Hold on a second. This is crazy. Where am I at? Oh my gosh. Look at this. 3.92. 3.92. 3.91. Am I the only one promoting this dude's page? Like, what? What's up, Terry? They're not? Are you serious? Are you serious? Aw, thank you, Katrina. Are you serious? I was, because I'm like, damn, that's real. I'm like, holy shit, that's real close. Are you serious? Why? What a... Wow. I'm shocked. Because, like, bravo, Judge. Like, I'm so happy. Hope Mr. Judge. Right? What's up, guys? Stumbling and shit. No. That is crazy. I am so excited. I'm so thankful for Judge. Like, I'm so happy because when you look at when we were faced with not having any video or audio of this trial, that's just no. I was like, no. And then he went out, so he probably saw, right, he's being fair. And he probably saw, I hope, I know they can't say nothing, but I hope that he saw this coffee cup and he's like, you know what? There's people out there that are trying to respect my wishes, even though court TV's not. They need to see it. I hope. Oh, it's not going to be turned on. That will be crazy because he better have some mods. I'll mod for Judge. Judge needs an intro. I am too, Sandy. Long time ago. I mean, he got a little snippy in the last one, but I understand. He's like, yo, you're coming at me with the wrong stuff. You should have came at me with probable cause, beyond reasonable doubt. You came at me with, and you should have came at me with probable cause. Like, I thought about rewatching that one again because the last time I watched it, I was just like, ugh. I couldn't wait to get it over with. I couldn't. It was just so boring. I think I'm so happy though that I'm gonna keep. We're gonna have Judge John Judge sub watch every show. I mean, that's just how it is. What's up, Nina? It's December 1st. Oh, thank you so much, Laura, for the kind words. I appreciate that. It's sad, isn't it, Laura? It's sad. It's sad. All right, I'm going to go into that breaking news part real quick. Yeah, if you didn't, I did. It's a short video. It's like 30 minutes or something of a video that I did when it comes to the University of Phoenix. I called it, here, I'll share it with you guys if you haven't seen it yet. I called it The Quickness of the Deal and the Shady Shit Cliff Notes, because if you watch the video and you see what I'm talking about, it's like the same damn approach to the PCA. It's crazy. It's like the same freaking approach as the PCA. And it's like, what'd you do? Copy a Cliff Notes version of shady shit? You just took the Cliff Notes, because you're basically taking one approach and you're just applying it to everything the same way. And it's just like, how are you guys getting away with this? All right, this is that breaking news. Listen to this. The latest being confirmed in just the last couple hours. All right. The latest confirmed in just the last couple hours.
Over the past several days. Again, this news just being confirmed within the last few hours, and Russ joins.
It's November 21st. Idaho4, buddy. It's right behind it.
Fox 59 News that Judge Fran Gull was hospitalized on November 2nd for a, quote, urgent medical condition.
November 2nd, 19 days ago. 19 days ago. And this was just confirmed today. 19 days ago. And this is just confirmed today.
So,
what the fuck? What is going on? We're supposed to be going forward, not backward. What the hell is going on? We'll have a Delphi show this weekend, probably. One of these days, what the hell, man? That too, Scarlet. Well, he's only been in prison for a little over a year. Man. What the hell is going on? All right, 1 second here. Let's get to this Idaho topic here. Oh, we never did watch that Morrow News. The unfinished story. What's up, Yoli?
Hi.
Hey,
How
I
are you?
like the background to see you got it working.
The brick?
Yeah, the brick. It looks awesome. Oh
Thanks.
boy. What a shit show in Delphi as well. Did you hear
Hello,
the
everybody.
latest?
Yeah, the judge is sick.
My
Well,
gosh.
She probably, it's probably a good thing for her. She has an excuse.
I mean, we're human, but this is what was odd to me is they just said that they just had it confirmed today a couple hours ago. So they've obviously been trying to get it confirmed because they are a news organization, and I'm sure that they listen to scanners too, people. And I'm sure that they're part of the grapevine that, here's the things in the background. It is a small community. Hell, even your freaking neighbor that works at the CVS where Richard Allen worked at, probably heard about something that just wasn't confirmed. Why would it take 19 days to confirm that a judge was in and out of a hospital?
Well, privacy,
So
HIPAA.
So with all this stuff going, I mean, because there's been a lot of stuff going on, like they've been asking the courts for the transcripts, and I mean, there's a lot of major stuff going on. I'm sure that's why, she
Yeah.
wasn't feeling good. That's a lot of stress.
Oh, trust me. I feel for Judge as well. He has a lot of stress too. So.
Oh, I'm sure with trying to learn everything. Shout out Judge. Since Judge was brought up again, I'm going to share it and we're going to check it. Where's 3.93? There we go. He surpassed me. Congratulations. That's crazy. I'm the only person on YouTube
great.
promoting him.
Some people don't like it.
Are you serious? Is that what some of the word is? Is that some people don't like it? Who does not like it?
Well, because I don't know. I've just seen little things here and there. I mean, I'm working all day, but
yeah,
people are saying that, that, I mean, even the judge today, I was in a hearing, and even the judge today said, they had live streaming in LA court. So the judge said, they're going to start going into live streaming, I'm sure. But this was the way to handle it. But over here, they're starting to live stream everything. Where I go in for a hearing and I click on the link, and then I'm in the courtroom. And there's one, and the camera is just facing the court, the court, where the judge sits. And it has a view of the counsel table where the witness comes up. So it's actually, that's probably what it's going to be like. It's just going to be a camera in the back that just in
the back corner with like a fisheye type, which I'm totally cool with. I don't need to see. I would love to be able to watch a court hearing and not have to use a coffee cup. And I know where they're coming. I get it that you're probably not going to see full coverage, but I'm thinking about the families before I'm thinking about myself. And does it really matter how many times? You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Does it really matter how many times? Does it matter who was first? Yes. Does it matter how many times? No. Does it matter with what weapon? No. Does it matter what weapons were used? Yes. Like, there's a lot of things that should be, but in my opinion, I don't know. I'm just thinking about the family more than myself, and I don't need to hear how many times, and I'm sure they don't want that being talked about for the next fucking 10 years. They already have a hard enough time. Already, you watch these interviews, you know, they already have a hard enough time about the theories and stuff that are talked on social media. They've already talked about it. They have a hard time with it. Christy has nightmares because of the shit that she reads of some of the theories that take place. So do you think that I really want how many times? The last thing I want is Christy to have another freaking nightmare. And to have any nightmare that's worse than the nightmare that she had last night. No. I don't care about it all. So, Judge, thank you. Don't show it all. Show what needs to be shown. Show the PCA. Show the stuff beyond the PCA.
What needs to be shown. Yeah.
Right. The DNA, the cell phone, the profile, everything that's in the PCA and beyond it. Don't need to know how many times. Don't need to see the pictures. Don't need.
Well, they're too.
How many? What weapon? Yeah.
The pictures are probably going to be too prejudicial. I mean, they were killed, right? We know that. So they're probably not going to.
Oh, thank you.
Judge is probably not going to allow graphic pictures to be shown because, you know, they're not going to allow. I don't think the judge would allow that. It's not. I
don't know.
You know, it's not.
They might
something that needs to be talked about. Well, maybe.
They might, I'm just saying. I don't care. I don't care. That's what I'm talking. Like, I don't know what they're going to do, but I know what I'm going to do, and I'm not going to care to hear some shit about how many times. And when you listen to the families, they don't need to hear that shit. They need to hear it, but not from us. Not from us.
No.
Thank you, Sunny.
Not from us.
No.
Because no. I had nightmares too. Somebody brought up injuries, and I had crazy nightmares.
Mm. Yeah, it's no. All right, so this is the Presumption Podcast. This is that video I was talking about earlier. It has Sarah Azari, the one that we watch on that court TV program. She's got her own podcast with two other people, Jim Griffin and somebody else. I don't really care for Jim Griffin, but it's a great podcast. He does ask some good questions. He seems a little uninformed. But Sarah Azari, she's level-headed when it comes to all this shit. So I'm excited to not only hear what they have to talk about when it comes to Brian Cobra. Go ahead. What's up?
You know what I want to know?
What?
Did they track his phone after the November 13th? Like, did he continue going over there to where his phone pinged? Yeah, so the FBI got his phone pinging in certain areas like 12 times, which was near the house.
From the spring. It was over a period of time.
Right. So after November 13th, did they find any more times that he went out there and his phone pinged?
I think the last one was
November 13th in the morning, right?
Oh, after the crime. I thought you were talking before. I thought you were talking before the crime because we were going back to the spring. The 12 times is before, Yoli, not after.
Yeah, but did they ever see if his phone pinged after?
Yeah, it's in the PCA.
Did ping afterwards?
Yeah, it's in the PCA. That's where
How
they're
many
telling
times?
you where he came up with where they can. I don't know. You'd have to count it in the PCA. It tells you where it says in the PCA every part that's cell phone because it's a mixture. And
I
they
was just
tell
wondering
you
if
the
a-
route
if-
that he leaves based off of phone activity.
Mhm.
Yeah. So it's all in the PCA. I don't know. You'd have to count it. You'd have to go through it and count it.
Yeah. Well, I know that you'd
The
have
12
to
is before, though.
the
before
12
the
is
crime.
before, and I know they found one after in the morning of November 13th. So I'm talking about like from November 13th until
Yeah, they're using. That's what I'm saying. They're
the time
using
he
the
was
PCA
arrested.
from
Did
when
they
he
ever
left
find
his
any more
house.
cell pings in that area?
No, the last time they found the cell ping over in that area was that day.
Yeah,
That
that's the
was
last
it.
time.
Yeah, it's in the PCA. It gives the cell phone. It talks about the 12 prior, and then it talks about the crime taking place, and then it talks about. I mean, hell, when he leaves his property and shuts his phone off, it starts off with cell phone activity, and then as he's going
That
to
was my question.
the
So
property,
so then after November
as he's
13th in the morning, yeah.
Yeah, and after he's going to the property, it's off of surveillance and some cell phone activity because it said that he did utilize the tower, okay, that the home uses. Then once it gets to the home, it's still on surveillance in the PCA, and then he turns his phone back on at 4:30 in the morning, 5 in the morning as he's driving south in Moscow, and then that's where you get the cell phone activity again as he's going back into Pullman. As he's going back into Pullman, then it switches back to surveillance, back on the surveillance of each corner on Stadium Way as he makes his way back to his house. So I don't know how many times you'd have to like tally it up in the PCA. The last time though was that morning, and then there's more ping or not pings. There's more cell phone activity that's still going on in the PCA, but there's nothing that is back at the property. It's more about him going to this location at a coffee shop and going to this store and being seen on surveillance at Albertsons, and and then after that it did mention in the PCA, it did mention where his phone utilized the tower, but they know that he wasn't in the area or something like that, and so they believe that he wasn't in the area even though his phone had pinged in the area. So I don't know. That part was just like, and that was like in the afternoon. Here, let me find it here and tell you for sure. It was, let me see. Okay, his phone stopped reporting to the network by 8:30 p.m. and that was page 18 of the PCA. Utilizes cellular activity at 5:30. That's in page 18, but that's not. Let me see here. So, let me see. $9:21. That's the last time his phone used the tower that the King Roadhouse provides or uses as well. 9:30, he arrived. There was something. Where was it that talked about his phone was somewhere, but they don't believe he was there. Where was that? Oh, right here. November 14th. BK's phone
Okay.
connects to a cell tower that provides service to Moscow, Idaho, but the investigators don't believe that Koberger's phone was in Moscow on the date, and it did not connect to any towers that provide service to Moscow since. So that was the November 14th.
November 14th.
Yeah.
But it's sort of a wishy-washy statement. I don't know what that means. Did it connect or did it not connect?
Well, I mean, you're connecting to the tower that the house utilizes before you even get to Moscow.
Yeah, but why did they say they don't think that his phone really connected?
I don't know. I have no idea. I'm just telling you what was stated. I have no
You
idea.
have no idea.
No clue. What do you think? I don't know. What do you think? I don't know.
No, I don't know. I don't know anything about it. That's why
as I do.
I was just wondering. Yeah, no, I was just wondering, like, what the statement that is made. They don't believe that it was the phone was in the area, and I just want to know what the basis for that statement is, if they have it. But I guess it's not in the probable cause affidavit.
I mean, it all doesn't make sense. Just like when I'm sitting there and I'm laying in bed a couple nights ago, and I'm sitting there thinking about the footage, and when I was at Nevada and Stadium, and then I'm thinking of what the PCA states and how the PCA talks about the directions that the vehicles caught on surveillance on Nevada. And it's like you have all of these other cameras that can take pictures, that can take pictures like this. And you keep talking about a camera off of Nevada because you keep stating directions on Nevada. So then that leads me to believe that you're using video surveillance from a building on Nevada, when why would you use surveillance from a building on Nevada when you got surveillance like this?
Right.
You want the shitty footage. You want the shitty footage. Because then you can be like,
so these cameras are recording?
That's a Volkswagen. Yeah, you can have live pictures right now. You could take these pictures. These are live pictures. Shout out Caddy.
Right.
She's the one that hooked us up with the links. These
But
are live.
the live picture. Okay, but do the lives get saved?
No, you can't.
So
That's
then how
probably
could they
something you would have.
how could you take a picture of him driving if you didn't know he was driving? If it
Oh, I'm sure
doesn't
it's
say that.
saved for them. I mean, you're talking for them, of course. It probably saves.
Okay. Yeah.
That would be a good question.
For them, yes.
But if they have,
Yeah, that's what I want to know.
maybe they are just live cameras and they could only go off. Maybe. But yeah, you can go to this website anytime. That is an interesting question. How long? You'd have to contact the company, though. They have to have. It's a surveillance. It's part of a surveillance program from the university, from Washington State University. It's their own program. It's a program that the Pullman Police Department collaborates with Washington State University and hires students to surveil and their own campus. So because they don't have the chief didn't want to offer the manpower because the crime went up 41% from one year to the next. So they needed to get a hold on it. The chief didn't want his own his own force having to take the time to do this. And so that's when they came up with the collaboration of having Washington. That's what Koberger was applying for, was to be one of these people that sits and watch these cameras and the cameras that are on the campus of Washington State University. I forgot the title of it. I have the document.
I'm wondering if the Department of Transportation has cameras for the internship. Yeah.
Let me see. Well, I'm sure with the police running it, they have a lot more of a database when it comes to video. Because what if they do have to go back when a assault occurred or something took place and they need to go back? I'm pretty sure they have. Let me see here. Where is it? Right here. It's quite a read. But this talks about the Pullman Police Department Public Safety Camera Monitoring Internship. Here, let me shrink that a little bit. Excuse me. Again, this is the Pullman Police Department Public Safety Camera Monitoring Internship Program. And it's quite a lengthy read, but it is very informative. And it talks all about the crime that was taking place, the events that were taking place, what led to the program, and where the program is at, as in what they consist of and what they're doing. And that's exactly what Koberger was applying for.
Wow.
And Pullman.
It's hard to believe he wouldn't know that there were cameras everywhere.
Yeah, I know. That's what like. All right, so we got some new documents here. Let me switch this. That is a good question, though. I wonder. I wouldn't see the city holding on to a lot of footage, but I bet you that internship program, I'm sure it was backed up on some servers.
And also the Department of Transportation has to have some cameras as well. I know in California, Caltrans has their cameras too. So,
Well, and it's not like they were looking at it a month or two after the crime took place either. You know that they were going through that the same day that crime took place. I'm sure they were already backing up files on all the surveillance of the city. So I'm pretty sure if it was recorded at all, I'm sure that it would have stored the last minimum of 2 days.
yeah.
You know what I'm saying? So I'm sure, and as soon as that happens, you back it up.
Yeah.
You back the files up. So I don't know. It is a good question, though. It'd be interesting to find out how long they do keep that. That's a good question. All right, this first document is motion to temporarily seal Exhibit 1 of the state's response to defendant's 10th supplemental request for discovery. The state of Idaho, by and through the Latah County prosecuting attorney, respectfully moves the court pursuant to Idaho court. Do you want to read these? Because you like reading all the little, what do you call them? With the little numbers and shit next to it.
Are you talking about footnotes?
Yeah, footnotes.
Yeah, there are no footnotes here.
There's no footnotes?
So you see this title? What? Sorry.
All right.
Okay, go back up. Go down.
Do you have the documents? Can you
Do-
screen share it? Do you know how to screen share?
No, I can.
Do
I don't know how to do that.
no? Okay.
I don't have the document, but I can read it from where you have it.
Okay.
You want me?
Yeah, because you're the lawyer. I'm
Okay. Let me just. I wonder how I can. Let me pull it up. Okay, 1 second. Let me put it up.
I can show you how to screen share. All right, go ahead and pull it up, and then I'll just move it. I'll just move it as you read it, and then that way
Okay.
it's not complicated.
Hold on. Let me.
All right. Yeah, pull it up on your end, and I'll just move it for them. This is so cool. So I'm on. Yeah, you know what I'm on, right? Motion to temporary seal. It's cool though. She can bring the documents up on her side, and then I can just move it. What's up, everybody hopping in? Thank you for hopping in. You there? You're on mute. if you don't know.
Yeah, I'm here. I'm just getting
Okay.
it. 1 second.
Okay.
1 second. Cases of interest webpage. Okay, and you're reading. What are you reading? What do you have up on
the first one? Motion to temporarily
screen?
seal exhibit. Yeah, I'm on the first one of the 1120.
Okay.
And the first one.
Okay, I can read it.
Okay. I'm ready.
All right.
Yep.
Okay. The state of Idaho, by and through the Latah County prosecuting attorney, respectfully moves the court pursuant to Idaho Court Administrative Rule 32G1 and Idaho Code 74-124 for a temporary order sealing Exhibit 1 attached to the state's response to defendant's 10th supplemental request for discovery herein, because release or disclosure would 1. Interfere with enforcement proceedings, 2. Deprive a person of a right to the fair trial and impartial adjudication, another 2, I guess it's an error, continue an unwarranted invasion of personal privacy, 3. Disclose the identity of a confidential source, and or 4. Disclose investigative techniques and procedures. The state seeks this protection pending a hearing on the matter. Wherefore, the state respectfully prays that the court seal from public disclosure Exhibit 1 attached to the state's responses to defendant's 10th supplemental request for discovery herein under the provisions of Idaho Court Administrative Rule 32G1 and Idaho Code 74-124.
Ashley Jennings. Ashley Jennings, Senior Deputy Prosecuting Attorney.
Yeah.
The lady that was not Olivia. All right.
Right.
And let me see. So the next one is the state's response.
Okay, let me go to that.
All right. Thank you for doing this. Let's see. Does this
No
have
problem.
no footnotes?
Okay.
Okay,
No
so how do you know if there's going to be footnotes? Is there a
Oh,
difference?
there's like a little number at the end of the sentence that is like,
but
and
does
then
it
and
up
and
in
then
the top or
no, on the bottom. But you see where it says in the bottom, like see where the page number is?
where those at are? I know where the cliff notes are at the bottom. I didn't know if there was something up on top that like lets you know that there was footnotes in it or something. But no, I know the ones at the bottom.
No.
I know
No, there's
a
yeah, at the
one,
bottom,
and you go down to the one, and yeah, I get all that.
So the page number down there, the number 2, it has the name of the document, State's Response to Defendants for Supplemental Request for Discovery. So if there's a footnote, it's going to be above that, and it's going to have a little like 1 or 2 or whatever.
Yeah.
Anyway. Okay. All right. You want me to read it? Okay. To the defendant Brian Christopher Koberger and counsel Ann Taylor, comes now the state of Idaho by and through the Latah County prosecuting attorney and submits the attached Exhibit 1 in response to defendant's 10th supplemental request for discovery filed on November 8th, 2023. The state incorporates the following responses as fully set forth at this point. So they're responding by incorporating their prior responses. So
And you don't have to mention all of them.
Their prior responses are state's response to requests for discovery. Yeah, they incorporate all of their previous responses. So
yeah, we read.
Like it says state's.
Yeah, they had a document like this before that we read.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And that's all. And they do that, and then they say at the end, they say the state has and will continue to provide discovery in accordance with Idaho Criminal Rule 16 and applicable law, and reserves any and all objections thereunder. So their response is basically look at all this other stuff we responded to.
Mm-hmm.
And then
right.
Exhibit 1.
I mean, That's cool, but we want the IGG, right? I mean, that's cool.
Well, I don't. Yeah,
You
it's.
can
I don't.
say you've
uh
offered this and offered this. You know what I mean? But what's the point?
Yeah, they also there was a tape recording of. Well, I should say the defense was asking for a tape recording of or video recording of an interview Officer Payne had with Brian Koberger.
Mm.
So I don't know if Officer Payne actually talked to him.
Oh, what's up? Somebody dropped something in chat here. Thank you all for coming to hang out. Appreciate it. Let's see here. Nothing exciting. Yeah, I mean, it's pretty much the same documents as a couple days ago. Or was it yesterday? Maybe, no, 2 days ago. And then this one is the temporary order sealing exhibit.
Yeah, just
Exhibit 1.
based upon the motion to temporarily seal Exhibit 1 of the state's response to defendant's 10th supplemental request for discovery filed herein, the court does hereby confirm and order that Exhibit 1 is confidential, exempt from disclosure, and are sealed pursuant to Idaho Court Administrative Rule 32G1 for the reasons stated in the said motion and until a hearing can be held on the matter. Judge.
I wonder how many cases he's presided. Yeah, he has.
I don't know.
While this one's going on, because I can imagine.
Oh, he I'm sure he has a calendar every morning, I'm sure.
Right.
Of cases.
Man.
Like people come in for various things. He may even be doing traffic tickets, who knows?
Yeah. It's too bad.
Such a small town.
Yeah, maybe it's too bad they can't have some kind of thing where they just they completely can go through everything, like a fine-tooth comb and there's so much stuff that he's got to be confused about, and then to have to deal with traffic tickets and all that other stuff, and you got somebody's life on the line right there,
That's why he takes a while to put out his orders.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's why
it
takes a while for him to put out his orders.
So no, I don't feel they should, Truth. I mean, just think about the family. You know what I mean? They already have nightmares. There's no reason for people on YouTube to talk about how many and,
I mean, they might have to in order to, if they ever find the.
Well, somebody was saying why
weapon,
people aren't.
They might have to go into it a little bit.
More. Yeah, they were talking about people not promoting judge as much as I am, because they feel like they're not going to get there's going to be certain stuff that's not going to be available, which I'm fine with.
Well, I
totally
would trust
cool
the
with
judges. Yeah, I would trust the judge to do what he thinks is right in terms of what we're supposed.
Yeah, that's why I was saying I don't need to know.
But
how many times.
I mean, if it's going to be like the live streams over here in California, it's very simple. It's just a whole video of like in the back of the judge. Yeah, it's just a counsel table, both counsel tables. The jury, of course, is not in the live stream. Just so.
Yeah, I mean, I watch some of them. I watch some court live streams.
They probably will start doing it.
I even watch counsel hearings from Akron that take place on YouTube. Some of them there's a camera that faces like straight down at the prosecution and defense.
Mm-hmm.
And then you see the judge in the witness chair. Most of them come from the very back at an angle. But there's one in Connecticut that actually goes down straight down at the prosecution and defense. So that camera angle is pretty interesting. But yeah, it's going to be like any other. It's going to look like a CCTV type camera, really.
Yeah, I was in hearings for most of the day today, and that's how it was for the live stream. I mean, it was just, you kind of have your little avatar thing, and they call your case, and you unmute, and you talk to the judge.
Kind of like what we're doing right now, pretty much, right? Like how you would be on your side, or yeah, and then you see
so like I would
from way back.
So like I would be here, and then you would be the video of the court, counsel table, both counsel tables, and the only thing that's not visible is the jury part, where the jury's seated.
Do you get to see the judge's face straight up, or you just see the judge in that one feed?
Not you see the judge. Yeah. For these hearings, they have the judge sitting at, up on the bench. And then, oh my God, that looks weird. Anyway, they have the judge sit. I look like an avatar on this thing. Anyway, I swear it looks weird.
You're good.
I don't know.
It's a
I
brick
look
wall.
fake. Anyway,
it's a brick wall.
It's weird. Anyway, so they have the judge sitting on the bench, and I mean, you can see. I mean, you can't see the minutia of their facial expressions, but you see the judge sitting there.
Yeah, but you can't see it like as close as we're talking.
No,
you can't see it. It's more like maybe you could like at an angle or something, maybe like up in an angle type.
It depends on where the judge sits. Yeah, some are with an angle, some are straight ahead, and it depends whether the jury box is on the left side or the right side. But most courts are now having this live stream where you can live stream hearings and trials and everything. So in Riverside, they have the live streams too, but I don't know if they do it all the time. I think it's at the court's discretion whether they do it in Riverside County. But yeah, so it's interesting. I mean, they're probably going to start doing that, live streaming things, because the media is so crazy.
Well, and think about it. I mean, yeah, judge, that's why when people like we're first talking about shout out, let me share Judge again here real quick to see where Judge is at. When we found out about it, I'm just 3.95, almost 4K now.
Wow.
Here's the link to Judge if you're not subbed already. Oh, he's almost at 4K. That's awesome. No, it's like people when they found out Judge was having a YouTube channel. Oh, now he's gonna it's like he can't monetize it. What are you talking about?
Well, if it is, it goes to the county, I'm sure.
Well, if they do, I hope they do. Not where you get super chats.
If it is monetized, if it does get monetized, the money's going to go to the county.
Your ad revenue, you definitely deserve your ad revenue, and yeah, it should go to the county because that is technically, especially if Sharman and all these people are going to be making money off Judge John Judge's or the Latah County's court videos, they should get ad revenue from it. So I hope that they do that where it goes to the county, because I mean it's that county right there, they get screwed enough from the university and it's sickening.
Yeah. Yep.
They just went into more of it today. I don't know if you saw when we were going into the University of Phoenix, University of Idaho deal more.
I heard a little bit about it, but apparently there was another university, was it Arkansas or something, that tried to purchase
Arizona.
No.
Yeah, Arizona before.
Somebody tried to some other entity tried to purchase the University of Phoenix. Oh,
yeah, Arizona did before,
and
I think
and they didn't. It didn't pass, right?
No, they shot the deal down. They shot the deal down because because when you're buying a business and you get to that point where you're like, all right, I'm buying your business. You're already saying the words. You're already telling people you're buying it. Then you get the books. Then you get access to the books when the deal gets that close. And that's probably when they saw the freaking books and they were like, hell no. And they backed off and shot that deal down and was like, no. Because it was very interesting because there's even people like, yeah, the reputation of the University of Phoenix is not good and all this other stuff. And I found it weird when we first went into it. And Scott Green was like, well, they've had some issues, but they're not bad people. And I'm like, what? Okay, hold on a minute. Why are you sticking up? Why are you sticking up for these people? What, huh?
And they're not bad people. That's a strange thing.
You get more into it and it's just like, wow, it is as shady as it freaking comes. And when you see how this deal was done, it just makes you think of how the PCA was made. It's freaking crazy. That's why I said it's from the Shady Shit novel, and it's the Cliff Notes version that they got, and they used the Cliff Notes version to how they were going to do this PCA and purchase this university. These people had 2 days. 2 days to be cool with the deal or not. Like, they brought it to the elected officials 2 days before they had to have a decision. There was a non-disclosure agreement. Like, it is so shady. And then when you see, especially the last part of it, and you hear the guy talking, we're going to get into it more and we'll listen to what they're saying. We're going to watch the interview again, and you hear what he's saying. It's just like, these people have no choice. This university has such a stronghold over this community. They run that motherfucker. And when they can do deals like this and throw them 2 days before they need a decision, when you clearly should have way more, and if you're making a purchase like that, you've been invested for quite a while. And if you weren't invested for quite a while, that's very dangerous business practices. And if you're making a purchase like that, you are taking your time. So to sit there and say that you only had a short notice is bullshit. No, there's a reason there's a non-disclosure. They're dealing with a shady business. I compared it to like an NFL team picking a quarterback in the first pick.
And you know what?
You never know. You're taking your chance. I think there's a delay on your side there.
There is? I know. There was a delay earlier today when I was on Zoom in the court hearings. So I guess, is it really bad?
No, maybe just a couple seconds. I don't know. There's got to be a way to fix it.
I fixed it before. I deleted a whole bunch of apps and stuff like that. But and then it was working, and then all of a sudden, I don't know. If it's too bad, I can log on my phone. Is it bad?
No.
Okay.
No, you're fine.
Okay. Hi, Brian.
Yeah, it's what's up, Brian? Yeah, it's just the university treats this community like shit, and there's no reason that they shouldn't be flourishing like the university is. This is crazy. This is crazy. We're going to be going to a presumption podcast. So they're talking about the cell phone, about Brian Koberger's phone being turned off, and the digital forensics. And they're having a special guest, Jim Persinger is the name. I'm not familiar. Maybe I'll recognize the face when we start playing it. But this is, we'll get into that University Idaho stuff here in a little bit too. I'm gonna play that. When I play that video, if you haven't watched that or heard that part, you're gonna, especially with what the guy's saying. He's speaking real too, and you can see him look at the camera a couple times, like kind of like that Vargas look. Like, yeah, I'm saying this shit. I'm saying this shit. All right, this is Presumption Podcast about Koberger's phone being off and digital forensic conversation. And I like this. Sarah Azari. She's level-headed like Jane.
Welcome to the Presumption. I'm Sarah with my friend Jim and my friend Matt.
Hey, just three friends having a chat.
Tres amigos. Tres amigos. I was thinking Manny, Mo, and Jack, and I was like, well, it should be Jane, I guess. Anyway, we are back with another great episode. We have a great guest after the brief break, but we also have some great important announcements, I should say, which is that we've always said that our priorities are practices, our clients, our law practices. And Jim has a couple of trials coming up. The holidays are coming up, and then we go into January. There's some other stuff there, but the programming will continue. But we do have a standing agreement, guys, right, that we go dark when one of us is in trial. Right?
Yeah, exactly. And especially with Thanksgiving coming up and, again, Jim being in trial for, I think you said maybe 3 weeks is the estimate. We just
Right now it looks like, starting November 27th for 3 weeks and then come out and we got Christmas and then have another trial starting up in mid to late January. But that doesn't mean we're not going to do programming. It's just there may be some gaps, right?
Well, yeah, there's holidays.
Exactly. We continue to be recording a ton of great content for you guys, but just wanted to let you know if you don't hear from us for a couple weeks, that's why. So
yeah, and the announcements will go up on our Instagram page and Twitter page.
Come on, it's Thanksgiving and Christmas. Everybody should understand anyway.
Just alerting you that an episode is dropping like we always do. But I just, I think we just didn't want anyone to think we're like MIA, disappeared on them. Anyway, and then I think talking about the holidays, I don't know, do we have an episode dropping before Thanksgiving or?
This is it. You're about to hear it. Yeah.
Yeah. So from my part, and I'll let you guys speak to it as well. I want to wish everybody a really happy and safe holiday. I also want to say that, look, holidays are not easy for everyone. Some of us don't have families. I don't have a family. My family's my sister, who doesn't live with me. And it can be tough because you're thinking about, people you've lost, people that you used to spend Thanksgiving with. And it's not a easy, pleasant time for everyone. But it's so important to keep close to those who are your family, your chosen family, your friends, do Friendsgivings or whatever it is. And after all, we are dedicated to mental health as well here. We haven't been doing a lot of that. We need to do that. But I just thought it's good to check in with our subscribers and say that, we see you, we hear you, and we get it. And I think wherever you are, just stay close to friends and, have a safe and healthy holiday.
Yeah, I'd like to add, Sarah, that there's nothing more rewarding over the holidays than volunteering your time.
Yes.
At some, homeless shelter, a food bank, ringing the bell for, the Salvation Army. I mean, that really is important. We've adopted a family, in our firm for Christmas. And, I would just encourage people to give back and think about the world around you. I mean, it is tough. And those of you who do experience severe depression, I've lost a friend over the holidays to suicide. And so, I don't want to get dark on this show, but, reach out. And if you're feeling desperate, there's a great suicide hotline that there are people there that can answer and talk to you, but reach out to a friend. Don't.
Jim, you guys are lucky because usually I do this drive, GoFundMe, which you're familiar with, to raise money for every Thanksgiving morning. because I live about 10 minutes away from Skid Row, which a lot of people know, even if you don't live in LA. And so every Thanksgiving morning, no matter what I'm doing in the afternoon or evening, I go to Skid Row and I set up a table and I give away stuff. I learned that they don't want hot food because they get a lot of hot food and it goes bad. So we take snacks. I take socks. Socks are like a big item. Costco is, where I go this time of year. And I usually do this GoFundMe so everyone can pitch in and I can just get more stuff. I didn't do it this year. I didn't move on it quickly enough. Otherwise I'd be hitting you guys up. But that's what I do. And giving, Jim nailed it. Giving is just such it's so cathartic. It really takes you out of yourself and it creates a sense of community and oneness. And that takes away from aloneness,
Wow. Well, that was beautifully said by both of you guys. I don't think there's really any level of sincerity I can add to any of that. I'm so glad that you guys have this sense of altruism. It just comes through in everything that you guys do, whether you're working on cases pro bono or in this case, setting up a table and giving out food to homeless people. I do not lead a life like that. For my part, I was just going to say more lightheartedly, hey, if you're going to a Friendsgiving, let's bring dishes that are actually themed to Thanksgiving food. Last year, I went to a Friendsgiving and somebody brought fish soup. That was our Thanksgiving entree. It was fish soup.
That is
we're
gross.
all supposed to be thankful on this day. But
That
I'll
is
tell you,
gross.
I'm not doing fish soup again this year.
Oh.
So this is my message to the listeners. Bring real Thanksgiving food to your Friendsgiving.
There you go.
Yeah, there you go.
Listen.
That's nasty.
Last year, I had COVID. I didn't know I had COVID. And I was packing these brown bags to take down there, like 500 of them. So I was putting the items in there and my neighbors started helping me. And I had like little toothbrushes and toothpaste. Like one of the items was that. And he said, he was trying to like get it done quicker. And he goes, you're catering to a population that probably doesn't have teeth or dental hygiene, so you might want to throw this one item out. And I was like, no, I got this thing, they need to have it. But yeah, it's you always have to think of what Thanksgiving is about gratitude, and I don't think we have enough gratitude, any of us. We all have so much to be grateful for, so many blessings, and it's just a time to really kind of connect and stop and be grateful. So anyway,
it is by far my favorite holiday, and nothing chaps me more when they start decorating for Christmas before Thanksgiving. Oh, yeah. And so I have a question for you, Matt. I'll go first. Favorite Thanksgiving dish. You mentioned fish soup, but my favorite dish is stuffing, but it's stuffing made with oysters, and it is really good. It's a Southern delicacy, but oyster stuffing is
where
awesome.
Can we get that?
Wow.
Yeah, well, I'll send you the recipe. It's awesome.
No, we're not.
All right, Matt, what's your favorite?
I got to say, I'm a fan of the homemade cranberry sauce. I'm not really a gravy guy, which I know is verboten to a lot of people, but I always dip the turkey into the cranberry sauce. And there's one that my wife makes with a little bit of like an orange zest.
Do you guys like cranberry sauce? I don't. I love gravy. Oyster? Oh my gosh. I don't know. This is some bougie shit. No, I'm not bougie. This is some bougie shit.
Just a little bit of cinnamon to it, maybe a little on
like
the frou-frou end. But that to me, that's the only time of year I'm ever going to eat that. So that's usually what I'm looking forward to.
Awesome.
Sarah?
Pie, because I have a sweet tooth, but not any pie. I like good stuff. Usually I make it, so I bake really well. So I don't know what I'm doing this year. I think I'm doing cherry, not pumpkin, I'm baking this
oyster
weekend,
shooters. Oh my
I'm sending
god!
a bunch of cookie boxes out to people, including Jim and other people down there in New York and my friends all over. I always do that. So cookies out and then pie for the table.
All right.
Love it. Well, speaking of being thankful, we should say thanks again to all of our fans for supporting us over the last, it's been like 6 months now we've been doing the show, I think. Amazing. And, if this is your first time listening, welcome. please tell a friend, please subscribe. Check us out on YouTube, youtube.com/@thepresumption, or you can subscribe on really any podcast network. We're also on social media @thepresumption. And let me tell you, we have a fantastic guest coming up for you guys, Jim Persinger, who he works in the world of cell phone tower analysis, and it sounds like how exciting can that be? But he was absolutely one of the best guests we've ever had on the show, in my opinion. I don't know what you guys think, but Jim Persinger coming up after.
He's the phone man, no doubt.
Yep. All right, we'll be right back after a quick break.
To the show, Jim Persinger. How are you?
I'm fantastic. And you?
I'm good. I've been in court, but I'm good. Jim Persinger, for those of you who don't know him, you should know him, especially if you are a criminal defense attorney. He is a cell data and forensic cell expert with extensive CAST and cell tower knowledge and experience, which is really what is of most interest to us today, given your very robust background. He's a retired law enforcement officer from Cobb County, Georgia. He's also a certified POST, stands for Police Office Standard Training instructor for law enforcement, as well as an instructor for private investigators. He has nearly 40 years of experience in technology and can program in 6 different programming languages. He's been an expert witness in a bevy of cases, including homicides, child pornography, intellectual property theft, hacking, intrusion cases, embezzlement matters, and also civil cases. Jim has been an expert in over 3,500 cases these are criminal cases for both prosecution and defense. And that work is involved either analyzing a hard drive, an SD card, third-party data, cell phone extracted data, or similar issues. He has also designed and developed a product called Pin and Essentials that works with the same data that CAST analyzes. He's had a number of cases where an FBI agent assigned to CAST, and CAST, for those of you who don't know, you hear that word a lot in recent high-profile cases, stands for Cellular Analysis Survey Team with the FBI. And so Jim has performed their analysis, essentially double-checking their work, because we always have to do that. He's analyzed over 600 phones and developed special software drivers to obtain data from odd cell phones. And he's been the principal of PM Investigations for 22 years. PM is a Georgia and South Carolina licensed private investigation agency. So welcome.
Holy crap. Holy crap. This is going to be a good conversation.
Qualifications?
Holy crap. I almost feel like I have to listen to that all over again and jot it down on a piece of paper. Holy shit.
He's qualified,
Yeah, this is going to be a good conversation. This is Jim Persinger, Persinger. And we are at 12:02 of the video. So here is the link to this. If you want to have it for your own playlist or your own records, I have a feeling this is going to be a very, very good conversation. We're going to learn a lot.
Jim, and the first thing I want to ask you, because I thought it was really clever, is what does PM stand for, PM Investigations?
So I learned very early on when I decided to form this agency that most disgruntled employees went home in the evening and did the dirty work, tried to get into the server, tried to get into somebody's email, was doing the spyware. And so I said, I'm spending an awful lot of time in the evening. I think I'll call my company PM Investigations. So that's how it got together.
Okay, so I thought it was because the alleged crimes were occurring in the PM hours. But same thing.
Yeah, that activity was just so robust in the evening. And it really kind of proved itself even more so with COVID, because people were at home and they were upset because they weren't getting paychecks, and so very busy.
Yeah. So the first question from me before I turn it over to Jim is cell towers. It comes up in our cases all the time now, but they can, but not always do, place people within the range of coverage that a given cell tower, essentially covers in a given area. So the first question is really general. I want you to explain to our listeners and viewers how cell towers work in a perfect world, and what records and information as defense attorneys would we want to see and review if we're dealing with cell tower data, placing our clients near a specific crime scene, I'm sure Matt will need this information too.
Yeah, and that's a great question to always start with, because, you know, we drive down the interstate and we see these huge towers that are just, you know, way up in the air, and we're wondering, what exactly is that thing doing? And I think it's important to kind of know that it's made up of different components to begin with, because that metal structure that we see, that is not the cell tower. You know, that is just what's holding the guts that's at the very top of it. That antenna is what's sending out the signal to the phone, and then the phone sending the signal back to that antenna is what is getting kind of locked in at that particular phone call. So, you know, the tower's job, it was not designed to be a tracking device. It was more for billing purposes. And so what it's had to do is it had to say, okay, well, I've got this person, he's making a phone call, and now it's trying to regulate it. It's trying to determine, is it a good signal? Is it a, you know, something that may actually drop or whatever? So that tower itself, at the very top of it, is what's key and important. And then, you know, trying to determine its range. And the range can be so many different variables. It can be based on, you know, what the horizon has, if it has a building in the way, you know, if it's older technology, if it's been, you know, struck by lightning or whatever the case may be. But that particular tower's job is to try to keep you connected. And then as kind of a second thought to that, it will determine, hey, I'm about to lose this individual. So what does it try to do? It tries to find you another tower. It tries to snap you over to somewhere else to keep that call going.
Well, when you say billing purposes, what do you mean? I mean, if I'm in an area, obviously I want to make sure I have good coverage, I'm connecting to a cell tower. But for billing purposes, I mean, we're all getting like sort of monthly plans or whatever.
Again, and if you have, for the people that had issues with their cell phones in Pullman or the trip from Pullman to Moscow, I don't know what you're talking about, get T-Mobile. Because of the only times I had issues with T-Mobile was when I was next to 1122, had no issues in Pullman or from Pullman to Moscow. I'm surprised there's a lot of people that have issues. You need to switch to T-Mobile.
How does it play into billing?
Yeah, remember that way back in the time, it was a charge per minute.
Oh, that's true.
The flat rate. And, you know, now they're trying to do different things with the towers, but it was always based on that per minute scale. The longer you stay connected, the more money they make.
Right. So essentially, we need these cell towers to stay connected. Yeah. We rely on them for connectivity. Would be accurate to say?
Yeah, correct. Yeah, absolutely.
Okay.
Now I want to ask a question. Sarah mentioned I might be interested in this as well. To be clear, it's not because I commit crimes and need to know about my cell phone locations. One of my side gigs is writing true crime stories. And so a lot of the cases I've written about, they deal with these cell phone towers. And I'm really interested to hear a little bit more what you were just describing, how when you go into a certain area, if that tower goes down, it'll snap you to another tower. How often does that happen? And how often is that, you know, part for Sarah and Jim? How often is something like that involved in these cases that you're doing?
It's a really tough question, because the first and foremost that you should get when you get those cell tower records is the service and maintenance records of that tower. Because you need to know if that tower has suffered some kind of internal technological issue where it's not performing like it should. And when that happens, the tower's job, it may be divided in what we call sectors. So you have an alpha, beta, and a gamma. Those, just think of a pie. You got 3 pieces of that pie. And what it's trying to do is keep you satisfied, keep you connected. And if that tower is weak, it is going to say, well, you know what, maybe I ought to put him over at this other tower because it's not as congested, or because it has the better technology. And that's critical, because again, what cell phone providers don't want to have happen is that you get dropped. You get dropped, you're going to another provider.
Right. And that what Matt just described, you know, I think Jim and I are going to get into, but triangulation is a thing where in one of my cases, I mean, my client got acquitted because they couldn't place him properly within the range of the crime scene. He was almost 20 miles away.
Yeah, you know, When you think of triangulation, you think of a triangle. It's exactly what a triangle made of 3 points. You got 3 towers. The best thing that you can do in a situation is be able to put that person on the inside of that tower's triangle between those 3 different towers. And now you've got a little bit more to work from, because now you can actually say he's within this area. You see,
Right. It's like the video we watched yesterday or a couple nights ago, actually, when it uses the 3 towers and it uses the location data from the 3 towers where it overlaps. And then that's where it gives a general area where it does overlap from the 3 towers. And what Sarah is saying is it can still do that, but her client was 20 blocks away. We've heard Scott Reich when the PCA first came out. Scott Reich was talking about it, and he said that his client was over 30 blocks away, and his client was basically set free because they could not say that he was literally at the scene of the crime, because he could have been 30 blocks away. Just because it says it utilized the same tower as the 1122 property doesn't mean that he was outside the frickin' house. Like I told people before, when I'm going from Pullman to Moscow, before I'm even in Moscow, I'm utilizing the same tower that 1122 was utilizing, and I wasn't even at the property. I could have been at Walmart as I'm getting into Moscow. I could have just took a left, went to Walmart. I'm still utilizing the same tower, that 1122. It doesn't mean that you were in front of the property. And yeah, Katrina, Jim does look like that quite often on these conversations. Like, huh? Very interesting, though.
There's a misnomer out there that towers want to talk to the closest tower. That's not necessarily true, because just because it's closest doesn't mean it doesn't have an overabundance number of users and it can't handle the load. So it's going to shift you to somewhere else, again, snapping you over. It's very important to try to get as many towers that are talking to that one phone to kind of corner him in, corral that phone into that triangle so you know exactly where it's at.
Got it.
And Jim, I think it's pretty obvious from what we're talking about, but these towers record, gosh, I don't know, millions of phone connections a month or a week. I mean, and how's that data? I mean, how does someone like you get the data to say Jim Griffin's phone hit the tower at sector Gamma at 3 p.m. on a Friday afternoon? I mean, how's that data available?
Yeah. Okay. So by way of subpoena, you got to send it to the provider. The provider is acting like a big sponge. It's taking that data, cultivating it so that it is in some sort of format. Like you take AT&T, for example, and they're going to give you a PDF and they're going to give you a text file. And the text file itself can be broken up so that you can see not only the tower identification number, the phone number, the duration of the phone call, but the latitude and longitude of where the base of that tower is. Not its mailing address, but its actual location, physical location. So you could go out there with a mapping software tool and actually stand at the base of it, and that's where it's going to say that you're at.
Right. And we've had experience with, you can get phone numbers from the cell phone carrier or the tower owner. I mean, tower owner doesn't necessarily mean it's Verizon or what have you. Some of these private companies own these towers, but you get numbers, and it's another task to try to unmask the number to find out whose phone that is. Isn't that right?
Oh, absolutely. They're not going to put a name with it. The best way to really get a name in a case is analyze the client's phone, because if that phone number was important to the client, he's probably got it stored in his contacts. So now you can do that cross review of the phone number that you get from, say, AT&T, and see what it shows in the phone's contact that says who the person is. Because we all know, cell phones today, our phone numbers, we can port them out. We can, if I'm tired of AT&T, I want to go to Verizon, I want to go to T-Mobile or whatever, I can take the phone number with me. Well, that can happen 2 days after an incident.
Well, wait a second, Jim P. when you subpoena, like what Jimmy G asked you, when you subpoena the records on the cell tower, right? You find out the cell tower belongs to Verizon. You subpoena those records, and you're looking at a specific date and time, a window of time, and you look at what does that give you? That gives you the phone numbers that connected to that tower.
Yeah.
During that. Okay.
Yeah, exactly. I'm sorry.
And then you have to subpoena those numbers for the ownership of essentially the identity of the person those numbers were assigned to, right? Am I correct?
Yes, unless you can get it from the contact list of the device. So if my client hands me his phone and I extract all the phone numbers and contacts, I can match it up that way.
Got it. So I think, Jim, you were going to ask about the factors that Jimmy G, you were going to ask about the factors that could interfere. Yeah.
Yeah. So, well, you mentioned maintenance records, and I guess, how do you determine that the cell tower is functioning properly and giving proper readings on sectors and what have you? And then, what factors go into, when you analyze cell phone data to ensure its reliability? I mean, what are you looking for to make sure that the information is accurate?
Well, it's just that, because the maintenance records are going to say this tower was updated or upgraded, or that there was some kind of enhancement done, or that it was taken offline. And so if that's going to be the case, I'm just going to raise that flag and say, we've got a tower here that was under some kind of maintenance issue. And then we can't trust its reliability anymore. It's sort of like if you go to a mechanic and have your tires changed out and you don't put the lug nuts on and the tires fall off. Where do you go back? You go back to the mechanic and say, did you tighten the lug nuts? When you're talking about the tower, if it shows it had some kind of technical issue, you need to address that and say this tower can't be relied upon because the maintenance record says it was having issues.
Right.
So I guess, okay, but what are the factors that can impact the functionality of a cell tower? Like, is it weather? Is it, lack of maintenance? And what could mess it up, in other words?
But lightning can certainly do it, even though they ground it. Lightning's knocking down trees.
All right.
So I don't know that a cable is necessarily going to stop that tower from getting hit from lightning.
Right.
But just its own, what we call firmware. So, in technology, right, there's firmware, there's software. Firmware usually deals with the hardware itself. And then you got software that, is what we see kind of more or less on our phones, of the apps and that sort of stuff. If that firmware developed an issue, let's say that it did get overcrowded, and that caused that tower to do some kind of weird reboot system. Well, if it rebooted at the time that the client was using it, what happened to his signal? It probably got dropped. But did the AT&T service on the back end, did it detect that? And what did it do about that? Did it just store it and say it's okay?
Well, what about temperature? I mean, the Koberger case, for example, was a snowy, cold, night when these the quadruple homicides occurred. Like, does temperature impact the accuracy? And how far back does a defendant need to go to look at, these records?
Well, to answer your first question about temperature, we know that, technology has a nickname of Murphy being involved. When something goes wrong, it's Murphy's fault. Electronics likes it to be cool, but it doesn't want it to be cold. It wants to function, and it can't all the time when things are really cold. So you do have to take those into considerations. Now, when you're getting these records back and you're looking at it and you're taking that into consideration, I always tell my clients, go back 2 weeks before the incident. Let's see what that tower was doing. So that 14 days before, did it have some magical reboot? Did it have some other service going on with it? And then 2 weeks after the incident. So I want to put that 1 month worth of data that I can now work with. I don't want to isolate it to just 1 or 2 days. That's not enough to give me a good baseline.
Good. Okay. So look, the Koberger case, we're following that case, Jimmy G and I, because it is fascinating, and a lot of our listeners and viewers are just absolutely fascinated by it. There's a probable cause affidavit that I sent you, Jim P., that places Koberger in the general area of the crime scene on Kings Road, well, on 12 prior occasions, okay, around that same time that the murders occurred. But on that night, the night of the murders or early morning hours, in the window of the murders, his phone did not connect. Now, people have taken this probable cause affidavit and started to say his phone was off. He turned his phone off. And it doesn't say that. It just simply says that the towers that serve that area did not connect to his cell phone. Okay, so looking at this might get a little in the weeds, but it is something that our viewers, I know, really have been wanting to know about. So looking at the probable cause affidavit, and my assistant, I think, just marked the portions that are relevant. Like on page 10, it says that, his last four digits, 8458, was an AT&T number, and that they matched up him as the subscriber to that number with also a white Elantra car that was caught on surveillance, essentially moving in the direction away from the crime scene towards his home in Washington State. Okay, so that's just like an added fact. And they got the search warrants to look at what cellular devices, this is on page 11, utilize cell towers in close proximity to the murder scene. And that on that day between 3 and 5 a.m., essentially they determined he was associated with the car and the phone, and they show the movement of the car, and they show that let me see what it says here. It says that they look for cellular devices that utilize those towers around the time of the murder. And however, they're saying his phone did not pick up signal on that occasion, even though it had on 12 other occasions around the same time. And then they're opining that individuals can either leave their cell phone at different locations before committing a crime or turn their phone off prior to going to a location to commit a crime. This is done by subjects in an effort to avoid alerting law enforcement that a cell device associated with them was in a particular area where a crime is committed. I mean, I've come across this and it's a bad fact, but it's not as bad except for there's 12 other times that his phone did connect in that area. How do you plausibly, if you were working with Jimmy G and I on this case, and we have to go to a jury and explain why just on this night his phone didn't connect, like what would be some plausible explanations or even possibilities for the prosecution?
Well, the first thing comes to mind is a dead battery. I mean, how many times have we gotten to the point we've used our phone and then all of a sudden the call got disconnected and we're thinking, what happened there? My call got disconnected. You look down and your phone battery's dead.
Okay.
No, it doesn't just magically charge.
Now, but does the
So is that what Jim is going to be claiming then, that maybe his phone battery died and he had to charge it and that's why it didn't turn on for another couple hours? That makes complete fucking sense.
Yeah, and I think somebody brought that up, and this case has so many different components, but somewhere that was brought up that his phone died, and that the charger was with another person, and so he couldn't charge his phone. But
so he had to drive around to charge it.
Yeah, that something to that effect. And you know what? I don't even know where I heard it or where I read it.
I have to. Because mine don't work unless my car's running.
Yeah.
In my car, it doesn't work unless the car's on.
Yes.
So, yeah, I can see that.
So he drove around to charge it, but I don't know if that's fact. So please don't cite that as fact.
No, I mean it's a possibility. I was driving around because I had to charge my phone.
Yeah, I'm trying to remember where I heard it or where I read it, and I just can't right now. There's so much stuff going on with this case. I don't want to say something that's wrong.
If you find it, let me know. I'm gonna. In the meantime, I'm gonna see. We might go into, because I'm sure this guy has been on the stand before in a criminal case. So while we're kind of listening to this, I'm going to look up in the background. If anybody does have anything you want to send to me, send it to these up here on the screen. Because I kind of feel like I want to listen to this guy discuss this in another case sometime where we actually can watch him in a trial discuss this stuff. I think it'd be very interesting. I'm glad they had him on, because this right here, when you're talking about the PCA, we know the questions with the IgG. There's so many questions when it comes to the cell phone, the CAS data, the digital forensics, all of that. The surveillance that we've already talked about, the surveillance. It's the same as IgG. This right here, I think, is really important. And I think it might be one of the most important things in trial, because we know what the issues with the IgG, we know the issues with the surveillance. I think this right here is going to be the big ticket, and I'm glad they had him on. It's a very interesting conversation, and especially with Sarah, because she asked really good questions. Sorry, her hair's driving you nuts. Is Sarah's hair?
Oh, come on, you guys! I told him in private. I said her hair's sticking up, and it's driving me crazy. Like, that's my biggest nightmare, is that stray hairs are going to be sticking up.
Thank you, Senny. Yes, please hit the like if you haven't yet. It's the freeway. And no, I didn't even notice it until you typed something in private chat, and then I was like, oh yeah, now it's all.
I know.
Now it's all I see.
Yeah, it's all I see. It's like, oh my God, I keep thinking to it's OCD, right? Like, I want, like, please put some hairspray. Take care of it.
Where's your assistant, lady?
Set it down.
She just talked about her assistant only making, simple notes, which you got to do it yourself if you want it done right. But it's funny because it's like, where's her assistant? Where's her assistant?
It's
when
distracting for me, but anyway.
You're distracting Yoli, Sarah. Come on.
Yeah.
Is it distracted any of you in chat? Let me know. I'm curious. All right.
It does distract me, but that wasn't for you all to hear. I confidentially told CJ because it was driving me insane.
Oh, no, that was confidential, Yoli.
It was confidential. I don't want to talk.
Oh no, no, it's all over the place.
But seriously,
true.
that's not, like, now I'm looking at my hair.
When you mentioned it, I have not been able to not see it since you mentioned it. So I had to say something. See, something, Alex, right. It is now. See what I'm saying? Yes, I had.
Yeah, you see,
I had to have everybody join me in the misery now.
Oh well, it's natural. I mean, it's not a bad thing.
Yoli confidentially put it in private chat about the hair, and then I had to have everybody in chat join my misery because now it's all I know. And probably people on replay too.
Well, because that's my biggest fear. Me. Like,
what's your biggest fear? Where your hair's all over the place?
That my hair is going to be like some big white hair. It's going to be sticking out.
Oh,
you know what I mean? Like. One of the few white hairs that I have is going to be sticking straight out.
Well, at least, you got your avatar up, so you can double check it right now. Sarah,
right.
She probably has to wait now. So. Welcome to the annoying spikes.
I don't know, but you know what? Who cares? It's not
a. No, we got to laugh too.
God. Well, yeah, but it's distracting to me because I look at details and things like that. But it's not a big deal. It's not her fault.
I don't know. I keep looking at.
She probably doesn't even care.
The psycho picture in this guy's background on the bottom left. For some reason, that keeps sticking out.
On the bottom left, the psycho. What?
Yeah, the picture on the guy's wall. I don't know. I'm just like weird. But I don't know. I've just been wondering what it is.
Yeah, Jim Griffin certainly has a look that's like.
Yeah. Huh?
Yeah.
But he's got good
Jim
questions.
Griffin has a look. Yeah, but he has this look that's like, tell me more.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. He's definitely, and he's got good questions too.
Yeah, but he has that look. He would be good in a deposition because people would look at him and say, like, keep talking. Like, he's like, tell me more. You know?
Miley. He's got a case of the explosion.
But he's
not.
He does,
he's not
but he also
like
looks
Koberger.
like, tell me more.
He's
No,
not
no.
like Koberger. He doesn't have reddish and brown stains all over your microwave, your
Oh,
stove, your
Jesus
light
God.
switches, you know.
And then the hair.
All
Okay,
over.
so I had a really bad sinus infection. I was not a sinus infection, a sinus headache. It wasn't an infection. But it was due to dander, due to the other dog I was taking care of. And my dog is hyperallergenic. She does not shed. She's a miniature Schnauzer purebred. She does not shed. And Murphy,
that was tough
he's
for
a
you.
Labradoodle. He doesn't shed. So, Vinny is over here saying, oh, dog hairs. The likelihood there's going to be a dog hair that transfers on to Koberger to his apartment is not going to happen because Murphy does not shed. He's not a shedding dog.
Yeah. It's probably a cat hair or something. I mean, we got some more Vinny to go into. If we don't get into it tonight, we'll get into some more Vinny in the morning because I'll be back in the morning doing another morning show.
A rat hair.
Who knows? But I'm just saying, you look at the Washington home and office search, and you're looking at all the brownish reddish stains, and it's like, damn, this dude was eating tacos. Had taco sauce all over his hands because you get it on your hands when you're eating tacos. It drips on your wrists and all that good shit. And then like, oh shit, the explosive hits, and you're hitting light switches and microwaves, and you're just trying to get there.
Oh my God, no.
So it's like, what?
But those stains could have been there. Those stains could have been there before he even moved in. I mean, who cleans those stains?
I would hope somebody cleaned it, whether it was the property owner or yourself when you move in. Hey, you can't just move into a spot and think that somebody cleaned it. You got to clean it yourself too.
Now
that's gross. That's gross.
They don't measure these spots, right? They just say that it's an irregular. An irregular
brownish, reddish stain. I mean, there's a gazillion of them.
Irregular.
Yeah. Those are on cloth.
Yeah, so it's like there's an irregular this, that, the other. I mean, are these microscopic? I mean, how like they don't measure how big these spots are. Like I don't see that it's a 3x5 spot. I don't know.
Well, and they just say stain. They don't even say like, think about it. If you have like a nosebleed,
they say irregular,
right? Yeah. Well, that's on the cloth. So that's on the cloth. What do you? Okay, but when it's on a surface though, like a light switch or a microwave, it didn't state like a speck or a dot, which would be if it was,
What if he cut himself shaving?
Directional. I'm just saying, like, and brownish reddish. So who knows? I would hope dude cleaned the apartment before he moved in. I hope it's not from other tenants.
And why did they release that search warrant? They didn't keep it under seal. Is that because it was in Washington, or is that because they didn't find anything from that?
No, they just had to release it. That just like they released the search warrant for the PA home search. It's up to you. I should say it's up to Vinny to tell us, what each item is, because he's so descriptive with his
well, when he was talking about the dog hair, he was talking so much about the dog hair and
that's
and I'm thinking, oh my God,
that's it right there.
I was like, that dog doesn't have dander. That dog doesn't shed. Like, that's such a far stretch. My dog does not shed. Like,
for peeps' sake, he didn't have a shower curtain.
She's hyperallergenic, just like a Labradoodle would be. Well, so I know a lot. I knew a lot of people that were OCD and were in the hospital, and they don't like shower curtains. They're like, ew, mold. Like they just want an open shower. Like I have an open shower. I don't want a shower curtain or some door.
Well, maybe he just took baths. He
probably took a shower, but he just didn't have a shower curtain.
You think so? Man, water'd be all over the place without a shower curtain.
Because it gets
maybe,
moldy.
Maybe
I
dude
think
just
so. No, not really.
it gets moldy. Shower curtains are $1. You just get a new one
Or
every
maybe
couple
he,
weeks.
yeah, it's true.
Yeah, you just get a new one every couple weeks. But maybe dude like baths. I don't like baths. I can't stand baths. I never take a fucking bath. I take a shower. So I have to have a shower curtain. Now maybe he was the type he just liked soaking in the bubbles. You know, he didn't like having it. He didn't like doing showers.
Well,
he was just
I
a
don't know.
bath person.
But he
Why would you
I
need a
think,
shower curtain if you're just a bath person? What's his bath look like? That's my question. What's his bath look like? Is there a picture? Anybody want to send it to me? If you have it, send it to me, of what the layout would be of the bathroom. We'll see what the bath looks like. Maybe it's just a tub. I had an apartment where it was just one of those old like porcelain tubs that had the claw feet, you know. I've had one of those. Pain in the ass to have a shower curtain in it. Prefer baths. You never know. Yeah.
Yeah, I can't have that. I don't want shower curtains. I don't want some damn door that I have to like squeegee after, you know, so that it doesn't have streaks, you know. No. Anyway.
Yeah.
Probably too much here.
All right, back to this show. Jim Persinger. I'm gonna have to look up, see if we're gonna get into some of that maybe in the next couple of days or something. Listen to him sometime from another case. I bet it'd be interesting.
Does the phone record, given that it records everything, when you charge it? Is there a place in the phone that tells you when you charge the phone, like a record of when you charge the phone?
Yeah, exactly. They do. Now, you have to consider phones are sponges. They are sucking in everything. And there are so many different, apps on there. There's so many different controls, so many databases, and so much of that it does keep up with, hey, he just connected the phone to a power source, and this is where I was at 13%, and I'm going to now start charging. So it does do that. Now, again, you can also have areas where, for whatever reason, even though you've been in that same path going, to back and forth to work and home, you can hit a dead spot. There can be still a dead spot that you didn't have yesterday, that it just, I don't know what happened. It just knocked me offline. Because we've all experienced that with phones.
So
now, Jim, I got to tell you, it's a mystery to me, but more often than my fair share, my phone goes on airplane mode, and I didn't even know I put it on airplane mode. I mean, so you can fat thumb it like that, right? Somebody like me.
Absolutely.
Because he doesn't know how to use an iPhone. I mean, let's be real, he's new to it. So,
it's interesting because way back in the day, you look at an iPhone, and to find where airplane mode wasn't easy to find. So why is it more readily available today? I'll tell you why. It's TSA. It's going through the airport. It's going to church. They don't want to hear the phone ringing. You're in a theater, so they made it more accessible. It's right there on the surface. And you're exactly right, Jim. That you could put that thing in airplane mode and not even realize it.
I've done it.
Done it a lot.
Yeah,
I've done it. It's amazing.
So what is it? Because you can swipe, and then on an iPhone you can swipe, and then all the buttons are there. You can easily swipe and hit, or something like that.
Well, yeah, and
use your phone sometimes, Sarah.
They even have this setting that says "Don't remind me," so it automatically you do the swipe, and it doesn't say, "Hey, are you really wanting to go in airplane mode?" It just puts you in airplane mode.
Yeah, I mean,
we finally got Jim off of the off that terrible phone service and over to iPhone.
Oh my God,
he's living in the 21st century now.
I would refuse
it's a struggle. It's a struggle
on SMS because it goes green. I can't stand it. So I would ask Jim to text me on WhatsApp. So thank God. But I've had an iPhone for years, and I didn't know really about. I mean, I was like, why do I need airplane mode? But when you fly, you put your phone on airplane mode so you can connect through the Wi-Fi of the flight, the airline, and then And also, sometimes I'm doing media and I give the phone to a producer to take pictures or something, and I don't want my text messages coming in or my client's private stuff popping up on my phone. So I just put on airplane mode so they can use the camera. I mean, there's like non-nefarious, legitimate reasons to put your phone on airplane mode, but it also is a bad fact in your case if you can tell from a phone that your client put it on airplane mode before before the time of a crime that he's accused of, instead of perhaps getting a burner phone or not having a phone at all. It's probably the best.
That goes back into what we call anti-forensics, when you're doing something out there in the technology arena to avoid being detected.
Right.
Right.
I mean, it's just so hard. And that's why I asked you about the batteries, because anything you remove, turn on, turn off, put down the phone. I mean, that came up in Jim's case in Murdoch, the movement and the steps and all this. I mean, everything is recorded. I think that, up until recently, I mean, I learned these things as just from my cases, as time goes by, I keep learning about new technology, new things. But, there was a time where it was just about what you put in the phone, what you keep in the phone, and now it's like, you don't even know what's in your phone, like every movement,
Now, let's go back to this example in Coburger where, apparently we're assuming he's driving the white Elantra. We're assuming that he's got his phone with him and it's not hitting the cell phone tower. And, one plausible explanation is the battery's dead. Now, Sarah, you say, oh, well, the phone would show it. But no, we don't have his phone from that night or the next day. I mean, it was months later. And Jim, you tell us, I mean, if law enforcement ever got that actual phone, but, months later, I mean, there's a lot of data that's overwritten very quickly, right? And so
that does happen. Yes, you're exactly right.
Oh, okay.
Now, there's a process that us forensic technology people say, and it's called FIFO, first in, first out. The databases are designed to only really hold so much. And as soon as it starts to work its way down the channels and become overwritten, it's gone, the chance of recovery is very, very, very slim. Now, it may be fragmented, maybe all broke up into all these little jigsaw puzzle pieces, and you're trying to put it back together. And guess what's missing? The time that you need. It's not going to be there. So, yeah, that does happen. But I've had the reverse happen, too. I've analyzed a phone that was 6 months old, and it's still there.
So there's no set rule, if I come to you with two clients, one has an Android, one has a iPhone, and there's no set, you can't say to me, for example, when you talk about social media platforms and subpoenas, the Jim P, not as good as you, that I work with, has told me, for example, Snapchat holds the data on their server for X amount of time, TikTok for X amount of time. This one never goes away. There's different sort of set parameters, but you're saying there's no telling when that data can be overwritten.
That's correct. And here's the thing to remember
wow.
about apps where they say it's 30 days, 90 days, 120 days, or whatever.
Really?
It really depends on what version of the app you're using.
Huh.
When did Snapchat or WhatsApp or whatever, when did they change their policies? We all know Facebook, right?
They're always
constantly changing
Yeah,
their
they're
terms
always
of
changing.
services. You never know what's there. It is truly a roll of the dice.
Wow.
You can send your subpoena, you can look at your phone, and it may not have anything there. I prep my attorneys to expect me to come back to you with nothing.
Wow.
Get that expectation of getting nothing.
Wow.
So that maybe at the end of the day, I can surprise you.
now we,
Wow. Oh, in this part, I think what we need to do sometime is, because I found a couple, he did a case, it was called the Ross Harris trial. Jim Persinger was on the stand, and I think we should do an episode where we watch the 3 parts, which is about an hour and a half, and then we watch some of the Lori Vallow stuff when it comes to the testimony about the cell phone stuff with the Lori Vallow case. Man, this is, you think this shit is like so solid. You think it's so solid, and then you listen to this great conversation. I'm so glad they had him on.
Well, you know, when you're an attorney, nothing is so solid. Nothing is
Right.
so solid because it has to be subjected to cross-examination. So, you know, something solid can be determined after they've been cross-examined, and like you can't touch.
I'm just saying, what's in the
this.
PCA now?
And that's when it's
What's
solid. But
in the PCA?
before cross-examination occurs, you just can't.
What I'm trying to say
Yeah,
is
that's
that
what-
I was a lot more confident in the PCA when it came to the cell phone and the CAS
No.
data and all this stuff, and now I'm not so much. Because before it was like, all right, you got the surveillance. No, the IGG, we're still waiting. The other than that, cell phone.
Yeah, but
Because anybody can have bushy eyebrows when you're going off the PCA. Anybody can have bushy eyebrows. The surveillance obviously isn't worth the shit because you had put out a photo of a sunroof vehicle. And the IGG, we know we're waiting for the homework. It's the cell phone shit. Now, I'm not so confident either.
Well, the cell phone stuff doesn't show him getting out of his car in front of the house and going in to the house and coming out bloody.
No, nobody says that.
Right. No, what I'm saying is the cell phone data is
Off
just
the PCA. I'm saying they're using the cell phone data.
Yeah, off the PCA.
I'm
but
talking off the
cell
PCA.
The cell phone data is a piece of the puzzle.
Right. And that's what I was talking about, the PCA and that piece of the
Yeah.
puzzle compared to the other piece of the puzzles. That's why I mentioned the IGG, I mentioned the surveillance, and I mentioned the
stands
witness
alone.
statement. With, you know, that's all puzzles of the PCA. I'm talking about the cell phone stuff. Before we even got into this conversation, I felt like that. What's up, 49er girl? I felt like the cell phone stuff was going to be the strongest. And now it's like I listen to what this guy's saying, Jim Persinger. Let me make sure I say it correctly. Let me zoom in. Persinger. Not so much. Not so much now. I've been talking this whole time that, you know, I'm utilizing the Tower of 1122 when I'm not even in Moscow yet. So, of course, I'm not saying that means that somebody's going up to a scene and doing a crime. I've been the one that's been saying the whole time that you're connected to a tower doesn't mean you're walking in there.
Right.
I'm saying I'm shocked about what this guy's saying. Like this, I thought it was a hell of a lot more stronger than what I'm hearing right now.
Actually, the only thing, I never thought that the cell pings were ever anything that was gonna
I never did either.
tie him to the
I'm
crime.
not saying
like
that.
The number one thing that was going to tie him to the crime. I'm more I know. But what I'm saying is that, you know, maybe, and because there's a gag order, maybe there's a whole bunch of other surveillance that has him going in.
I hope. I've always
going into the
wondered.
house, you know?
I've always wondered if 712 had a camera. I didn't see one when I went there.
Right.
But 712 is not the only property. You have 1126 also that could have a camera facing towards the screen door, which we don't know. The only one we do know is about 1112 because it's in the PCA. But
yeah,
and
you know,
the better have some.
But yeah, I mean, I get it.
It's gonna be a tough trial.
No, I get it, and so based on what if people can't acknowledge the fact that based on what the public knows, there is no camera, video, photographs of BK going into that house at a certain time and coming out, you know, with ketchup. and changing his clothes. Like there's no, maybe there is, I don't know, but at this point, there's nothing that shows me that. And short of that, for the death penalty is, I mean, you want to see it. You also want to see the damn car. Like, show me the damn car. Like, I think you're right. I think the grand jury probably wanted to see, like, show me the car.
The only thing
Based on what Elise said, it sounded like, go ahead.
No, go ahead. It's the delay.
Oh, sorry. So what I was going to say is the way they put out the car and how they said, look, be on the lookout for this car or whatever. It sounds like it was somebody told them like there was a white Elantra circling. And so they don't know. And so they're putting out this stock car.
Yeah,
like,
the FBI told them that. They reached out to the FBI shortly after the crime took place.
What was that
to
based
come up
on
with the vehicle.
with regard to the... No, but when they put out the alert, let's say when they put out to the public, look for this car. Okay.
Yeah, that wasn't until December.
Right. When they put it out, they put it out in such a way.
Or November, actually, for late November for the 11 to 13 Elantra. It changed in December to 2016.
Well, whenever they put it out.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, they reached out to the FBI.
But you would think like they would have some picture of this car.
Yeah.
With all the cameras. And I'm sorry, but there are Department of Transportation cameras.
How do you listen? This is what I've been saying, Yoli. How do you, because they reached out to the FBI because they had a special team that specialized in finding out car makes and models. So they reached out to them. They came back with a 2000 first Sentra, then a 2011 to 2013 Hyundai, then a 2011 to 16. How do you, and this is what I've been saying, give us the picture that you were going off of to get the 2011 to 2016 Hyundai, because if that's the picture you can go off of to determine a make and model, well then how come you don't get that photo? Because that's a photo of a car and it must be pretty good, or at least somewhat visible to come up with a model. At least it's a picture. You're not putting out a sunroof, because my problem is you're going to put out a stock photo. Why don't you put out the shitty ass version of the photo of the vehicle too? Even if it is a shitty version. Why are you putting a version that has a sunroof on it when people might take that literal and go look for a car that has a sunroof on it too? Oh, that one's got a sunroof on it as well. That's got to be it.
Yeah. Yeah.
The FBI got the tip from a picture. Where's that picture?
Yeah. That's what's interesting.
That's a picture of the car, right? You got the tip.
Very interesting.
What has to be of the car? How come that wasn't put out, regardless how shitty or clear it was? Why wasn't the stock photo put out along with the shitty picture?
Yeah, right? I mean, you want to alert the public,
Right. Yeah. And to say that out of all those cameras that I took you guys on, to say that you can't tell if there's a person or two people, or you know what I mean? You can tell. You can tell he didn't have tinted windows.
And I'm telling you, there's also the Department of Transportation in Idaho. Yeah. But there's also the Department of Transportation in Idaho that has cameras like Caltrans does here. There's local cameras, there's, but there's also state cameras. And I've worked on some road design cases, like the freeway was not safe, and water pooled here, which made it more prone to an accident. And they have Department of Transportation cameras These are not cameras these are state cameras, which would be Idaho Department of Transportation. I'm sure they have cameras. I'm almost positive they do. And those cameras are a bit different than the local cameras that stream to catch you for a ticket, that do all that shit. And I swear I saw some video, and I don't know where I saw it, but there are Department of Transportation for the state of Idaho. They have cameras.
Yeah, we've been showing the pictures for days.
Yeah, they do. Yeah,
I mean,
and
we've been talking
we don't
about
know
it
which
since my trip. Yeah,
we don't know which cameras belong to whom. Like, there's multiple cameras on certain areas.
Well, we know that WSU has a program with the Pullman Police Department. I'll share that article with you guys again, where it goes in depth about the program. I mean, who cares about Moscow? WSU, if it's the vehicle.
Yeah.
And here's the link again for the. I have to actually get this to say it correctly. The Pullman Police Department Public Safety Camera Monitoring Internship Program.
Yes.
There you go. There's the link for that. Give that a read too. Yeah, when you can get photos like that, you can tell. Even at nighttime, no tinted windows, street lights illuminating from each side, you can tell. Even at nighttime. Give me a break. You're sitting there looking at Linda Lane footage and you're telling me how many people are in a vehicle. You can tell, even at nighttime, how many people would be in there. Minimum. And to tell me that they don't have that footage for that internship program, they don't have that footage on a huge database. What do you think it's for? It's for surveillance. Something takes place, doesn't get reported, gets reported a week or two later. You don't think that they have a big backup that can go back 2 weeks, 3 weeks, 4 weeks, maybe 2 months? Of course, there's going to be a rotation, just like any surveillance. After so long, it's going to replace. That's natural. But you always, with surveillance, you always have the availability to go back to all of the prior recordings. So, all right, we'll get back to this. This is I'm going to share the link to this too. If you don't have the link to this video from the Presumption podcast, I'll put that out in chat again too. This is a great conversation.
This is a good point. We do know that these
the Jim P, not as good as you, that I work with, has told me, for example, Snapchat holds the data on their server for X amount of time, TikTok for X amount of time. This one never goes away. Like, there's different sort of set parameters, but you're saying there's no telling when that data can be overwritten.
That's correct. And here's the thing to remember about your apps, where they say it's 30 days, 90 days, 120 days, or whatever. It really depends on what version of the app you're using. When did Snapchat or WhatsApp or whatever, when did they change their policies? We all know, like Facebook, right? They're constantly changing their terms of services. You never know what's there. It is truly a roll of the dice. You can send your subpoena, you can look at your phone, and it may not have anything there. I prep my attorneys to expect me to come back to you with nothing. Get that expectation of getting nothing, so that maybe at the end of the day, I can surprise you.
Now this is a good point. We do know that these third-party providers, that you sign up for Snapchat, but they're collecting your data and they're holding your data offsite in their servers. But what we're talking about now is, what is in that little computer in your phone and how long that lives. And that's a random guess.
It's a gamble.
Oh, yeah. It truly, you stood a better chance with a computer. It had a bigger device in it of storage, and there was a much greater chance of recovery. But you're talking about even these iPhones, the 512 gigabytes. I just did one the other day where I had to image it. It took 9 hours to make a forensic image of that. Even though I have that much data, there's still a good chance it's not going to be there.
You know,
Well,
Jim,
it's always go ahead, Jim.
You may have followed some of the Murdoch case, may not, but you know, I made a big deal in my closing argument. It was a big deal in the case that, you know, Maggie Murdoch's phone was tossed to the side of the road about 1.5 miles down from the murder scene. And when it was recovered, the phone was recovered, the law enforcement did not put the phone in a Faraday bag. They left the location services going. They put it in airplane mode, but the location services were still on. And by the time they were able to got around to analyzing the phone, the location from that day had been overwritten. And and the only location data on the phone was the phones that SLED. And so, you know, we were deprived of that. And so, you know, that's sort of one example of where the data on the phone just gets written over. And tell us, you know, your experience, how to preserve forensically a cell phone at a crime scene, what you're supposed to do, what you're not supposed to do, and what do you see the biggest mistakes law enforcement are making in that regard?
Well, you know, because cell phones are what we consider to be alive and breathing. They're active. They're on. If that's on, that phone is doing something, either on the background or on the foreground. Something is going on with it. So, you know, you do have to handle it different than a computer. With the cell phone, the first thing I want to do is put it not only in airplane mode, I want to turn off Wi-Fi, and I want to turn off Bluetooth, because those are the 3 deal killers right there. Once I take that precaution, I put it in a Faraday bag. Now, the idea behind a Faraday bag is that I don't care what kind of, you know, antenna waves that are coming to that phone, it's not going to get to, it's going to be blocked. And that way, when I go to make my image, I know it's as pure as when I picked it up. So you have to do that, turning off airplane mode, or turning it on airplane mode, actually, and then taking the Wi-Fi, taking it out, and then taking Bluetooth and turning it off, and then putting it in that Faraday bag. Law enforcement seems to pick it up, put it in airplane mode, and then walk to their lab with it.
Yeah, that's what happened in our case. Now, and anyone who followed that case learned, as we all did, that there's an enormous amount of information stored in that little gadget in your hand. And can you sort of give our viewers and listeners a rundown of the type of data that your cell phone is collecting about you every day?
Yeah, your health apps. I mean, they're massive in there. They've even expanded in the latest iPhone the size that it can now store. And that health app is giving you walking distance. It's giving you what we consider to be the health of the phone, the health of the battery, the number of apps that are running, the number of apps that are in sleep mode, the versions of those apps, because the version of the apps by themselves play an important role. Because if you're analyzing, say you got a WhatsApp 7 and, you know, today it may be 15, well, the settings aren't going to be the same. The data collection may not be the same. So you have to almost become an encyclopedia of those apps to be able to determine what should I expect to find. So you got app data, you've got the health monitoring, you've got just the regular operating system that keeps that phone going, that keeps it, you know, running. What's version of the operating system that's on there? When was the last patch put on it? There's just a plethora of different things that you have to consider.
Can I jump in with
I know the version,
which is you're saying
that's
that you
crazy.
have to be like an encyclopedia of all these different apps and updates. And I just wanted to ask you personally, how do you keep up with all of this constantly changing technology so that you can keep your, you know, clients informed? I feel like we were just talking about putting it into airplane mode on accident, but you need to really know every part of every app. How do you even get that information?
Well, you know, because each case is individually focused on a particular app. Let's take text messaging. Let's say that you are using Snapchat. I want to see what the version is on the phone. Then where do I go for my best source? Right over to Snapchat. I want to see. Most of the time, those apps will have some kind of log as to what changed over the different versions. Now I can apply that knowledge to the database that I can find on that phone. That's a great start right there, because now,
I mean, just think about it, everybody. How many times every freaking day I got to check what apps I got to update? And if I don't do it for 2 days, next thing you know,
Yes.
I have like 20 plus freaking apps that need updated.
Yeah. And you know what? I don't know why they can't get their shit together, but I get updates on my computer for Windows all the time. And it changes what and my phone. And it changes certain things that it's like, okay, I just got used to how it worked before. Now you changed it. Like, why can't they just set a time like once a month where they do all these,
because of the bugs,
you know,
because of the bugs.
updates?
I think it's mainly because of bugs.
It's really difficult.
I think it's mainly because of bugs.
Well, geez.
You know, it's they get bugs all the time, and they constantly are having to, you know, I mean, hell, just with any of these apps, they get buggy.
Well, yeah. So it's you know, you don't even know what kind of version you have, and I mean, this is all complicated. It would totally need to be like totally expert. Like this is the thing that scrambles my brain, where I would just rely on the expert and I would just let the expert shine, and I would ask the expert all the questions, and the jury would be looking at the expert, not me, and he would just shine. That's the only way that you could do this thing, because it's too technical, you know?
And it changes every day. So you have to rely on the experts, because you could learn about it today and spend hours researching, and then in another month, different parts could be different. It's constantly changing every single day, every moment. You have to rely on these experts. And, you know, like this guy said, how do you store all that information upstairs? Sometimes some of us just have those Rolodex minds, you know, and it's boom. The thing that we're looking, his old trial that he did, it was like 7 years ago. I don't know how much. I mean, speaking of how much it does change, I'm sure it's a hell of a lot different. So maybe in the Lori Vallow case and the Murdaugh case, it'd be interesting to look at the cell phone stuff, see what went on in those trials, compare it to, because those were just recently this year. So use those trials, kind of like compare it to what we've been told, what we've been learning, and then kind of, because that's kind of pretty much what we're going to be expecting, honestly, when it comes to the cell phone stuff.
Right.
Is stuff like the Murdaugh and Vallow, when it came to the crime and where they were at and how it positioned them there and such and all that stuff. So
I can say, you know, it wasn't saving my auto log on before, but now it is, or that I was deleting the message manually versus automatically. Those different settings are going to be found at the provider, the developing company.
So it's really kind of a case by case basis, and then you kind of work backwards from there.
Yeah, and it even make your head hurt more about that. You can take two iPhones identical. They can both be iPhone 14s, Pro Maxes, 256 gigs, identical, bought at the same store, but there's something different about them, and that's the user. You see, every user uses their phone differently. Some will update their apps. Some will never update their apps. Some set it for automatically. As soon as I go in and I get Wi-Fi, it will automatically update. Those are the things you have to learn from the phone, and sometimes talking to the user to find out what he was doing.
Now, Jim, you know, you do this daily, and we all have this picture in our mind of you getting the phone itself if you're hired by the defense, but that's really not what you're getting, right? You're getting the extraction. And can you explain that process?
Well, sometimes, Jim, sometimes I will ask, hey, let's go in front of the judge and let's see if I can get the phone and make my own image. Because for whatever reason, I don't like what law enforcement's provided me. You know, you take one of the main applications out there that we probably all have heard about, is that Celebrite. And they have the very expensive end, and then they have what they call the Reader edition. And the Reader is basically what the investigator at the law enforcement agency put in for the reader to analyze. So you may actually come up short if all you're doing is looking at the reader version of it, because that reader version is based on what the government's investigator felt was important to the case.
Right.
His
And
side.
you get and often you get thumbnails and you
Yeah.
don't really even know what the thing is, what the item is or whatnot. One thing, Jim P, with respect, a couple points that you made with respect to this, getting the device itself, I've been able to get orders to get the actual phone for the same exact reason, to have my own expert do the analysis and the imaging. But almost always, I mean, I don't remember any time where it hasn't been the case. We have to agree that the government does its own imaging before that phone is given to us, and that we will not.
Thank you, Mark and Betty. Appreciate you.
Contest the authenticity of. We will stipulate to the authenticity of that imaging at trial, because once they give us the phone, it's no longer, it's the chain of custody issue, right? It's no longer with them. So you have to almost always agree to that. When you talk about the Faraday bag, how does that protect the data? Can you explain what that is and how it protects the data?
Yeah, it's got this for the easy discussion, it's got like a layer of aluminum foil, if you will, on the inside of this that prevents signal from entering the bag. So this mesh that actually is on the layers of the bag, once I put it in there, I can then roll the top of it several times and it seals it. So it keeps that phone from having any signal interruptions coming to it.
Got it. So following up on a question that Jim asked you, part of your expert work, you also, maybe you didn't answer this in the greatest detail, so I'm sorry if it's redundant, but you evaluate how law enforcement has handled the cell phone to preserve the integrity of the data. What are some of the common mistakes that they make that essentially, we can cross-examine them on?
One of the great things is about time. They'll get mixed up over UTC versus Eastern Standard or Pacific or daylight savings, and that adjustment. If you're looking at the phone and you're inside the database, you have to.
I'm telling you right now, when I was on my trip and I went out and I was in Pacific time, oh my gosh, trying to keep track for a week on Pacific and Eastern and Central and all these different time zones, oh my gosh, it drove me nuts. It was a task on its own every day when I had to try and figure out when I could maybe go live compared to when I'm actually getting up at a decent time. But at the decent time, then all of a sudden it's 11 o'clock a.m. in the East Coast and it's like shit. Then I only got a certain amount of time for daylight in Pullman and Moscow because it sets earlier up there. It was nuts trying to all the damn time zones. I can imagine this UTC
Pacific or daylight savings, and that adjustment. If you're looking at the phone and you're inside the database, you have to know enough about those column headings that may actually say this is in UTC time. I have seen before where they have built their entire case on a timeline with the wrong factors.
Wow.
They were 4 hours off, 5 hours off, and they put their PowerPoint up on the screen, and all we do is ask questions about UTC and Eastern. Then you can almost see the look on their face where they realize they've made a mistake.
Whoa.
I hate UTC. I hate it. Comes up
Wow.
on when I try to schedule things with Jim and Matt. Sometimes it comes up and I'm like, what the hell is that? And it's like it says UTC and then it has like some weird location next to it or whatnot. Okay, so the time zone. What else?
So the time zone is going to be your most important thing. But then the other thing that you want to be able to look at is the string of the characters. For example, let's say we're talking about a photograph. There's a mathematical calculation we call hashing. It's not the stuff you smoke. It's a mathematical formula that actually will tell you if that picture matches the picture that's in the phone. That gives you kind of a digital fingerprint that what you're talking about, what you've seen in that photograph, as well as the picture itself. Now, that is different than metadata, because metadata is typically when the picture was created, what created it, if it was the phone or if it was passed on by a different kind of camera, the flash settings and everything else. So metadata, although it's important, hashing that information is more important, because that
There's
gives
so
me the
much
reason
in
to
this.
believe that this picture is real. It can be matched up inside the phone.
So have you gotten photos where it doesn't match to the phone? I mean, does that happen?
All you have to do is change one of the pixels, just one of those little bitty dots that you can't really see with the naked eye. You have to kind of zoom in and see that a white dot turned into a red dot, and you got a different hash value. So,
you know, I mean, that's a really good point. I mean, you know, we got digital photographs now, and they're so easily manipulated, and people are just accept that the photograph that they see is what the actual image in real life was, but that's not necessarily the case, is it?
Very true. I had a case several years ago where what the individual did is took screenshots of their phone of text messaging that they said came in from a party threatening. Well, we got analyzing the picture. It wasn't screen captured on the phone. It was created on a computer.
Wow.
And you know, when you start asking the judge, hey, we think we want the computer because we want to look and see if Photoshop or something else is on there that may have manipulated this picture, pretty soon the computer no longer exists, right? They're going to tell you, oh, well, I got rid of that years ago. It's no longer here.
Yeah. And Jim, I've had, and this is more often than not, when I've had victims and family members and there's SLED or has seized the phone and, you know, they'll turn it on out there and it will send a message, you know, to a family member, and they're like, this person's dead, like the victim's dead, and like, I just got a message from their phone. How did that happen? And I mean, that does happen, doesn't it?
Oh yeah, your road officers are probably the worst of that, right? Because they pick it up and they look at it, and they start scrolling. And they may look at it and go, well, wait a minute, here's a message. And as soon as they fat finger it and they hit the send, it's gone, right? It's sent.
Right.
Or because maybe the phone didn't have good signal. We've all had that before, right? Is that you're trying to send an attachment by text message and it says it's queued and it's sitting there waiting and waiting and waiting. It may be 30 minutes later and all of a sudden the picture gets sent. Well, different law enforcement finds that phone on the floor. He picks it up. He's now reoriented the phone to where now that picture goes, oh, I have good signal, and it sends it.
Right.
And
this is a common layperson question, because you mentioned subpoenas and then layers of subpoenas and stuff. So obviously we're all talking about situations where, you know, somebody's accused of a crime, they're indicted, and so we can issue subpoenas, you know, for this stuff. But like, you know, sometimes in the context of restraining orders, for example, somebody comes to you and says, I just think I know, you know, my ex-husband was calling me at 5 a.m. and I know it's him. And, but there's no basis is there any way to get that information short of getting the device to see the outgoing call, for example? So you can't submit.
Yeah. And that's a good point, because, you know, your lay person, the person at home that's getting harassed, whatever, doesn't have subpoena power. And they don't necessarily go down, you know, and hire an attorney because they've got just, you know, an ex-spouse or whatever the situation is. So what do you do in those situations? You know, what I've done before, or I've recommended, is that you send a letter of preservation. You know, sometimes that doesn't get you very far, but the most important thing is to protect your phone. Because if your phone, we can also look at those phone calls and see if it was a spoof, if it was something else that came through by another source. You know, because I've designed applications before that I can show you how to spoof a phone number. I can put in your phone number and send it to just a number of different people. And unless you preserve your phone on the recipient end, we may not have anything, because that individual may hear that there's an investigation about to launch. And what do? They get rid of the phone.
Jim, can you tell if it's a spoof number from your phone, like an expert like you?
Yeah, sometimes I can, because what they'll do is, especially, I don't use.
Well, and here's what's interesting too is they used the phone number of Koberger from the traffic stop in August. So even if he got a new phone, they use the phone number, and I don't know, how does that work? You would be able to find out. Well, I guess just with a new phone, it would just have a new number. Because if you're trying to, because if you're trying to like hide something from that phone, you would just switch to a new number, right? You wouldn't transfer that number, because then everything from that number would transfer to the new phone, and then it would. So you would have to get a new number, right?
I don't know, but that makes sense.
So, because they never stated.
All I have to say is, if anybody. Go ahead.
No, go ahead.
No, you said they never stated that what?
Well, they stated they used the phone number from the August traffic stop to get this, to get the cell phone records. So even if that's what I'm wondering, like, even if he did get a new phone, the records still transfer. You would have to get a burner phone, and then the burner phone would be your new phone, because your old phone wouldn't exist anymore if you thought, just like this guy was saying, there's they interviewed him. Oh shit, I got to get rid of my phone, unless they changed provider and ported the same number. Okay. I mean, because he changed his plates, right? So, well, I mean, he had to. Hello.
I don't know, but if anybody,
oh my
like,
gosh,
well, he had to.
Yeah, he had to. Yeah, it was his birthday.
It was the time to change them, right? It was his birthday.
It's his birthday.
No, but
today.
if anybody is listening to me or my phone, I don't give a shit. They can have at it. They're not going to find anything. I just feel like, this has made me so paranoid, but I'm not paranoid, because I don't have anything that I need to be paranoid about.
No, they're gonna get your what's that stick? The Amazon stick. They're gonna get that thing and search it and see what you've been searching on your TV, Yoli.
Well, that too is pretty.
They're gonna want to know what you were looking at HLN late on a Tuesday night. When you couldn't get any. Yeah, when you couldn't get no sleep.
HLN.
Yeah, they want to know, what were you looking at on HLN on a Tuesday night when you couldn't get no sleep?
The Jodi Arias trial or
something. Yeah, what documentaries were
like
you
that.
looking up? Right. Paint you at the scene of a crime. All right, we just got about 15 minutes left of this, and then we will be getting into some other stuff. Thank you all for hanging out. Appreciate you. Thank you, Yoli, for hanging out and being up here on Pana.
The text message standard apps, I use the ones that actually give me a little bit more meat behind it.
Good night,
So
everybody.
when you send it, I can look in there and I can say, this came from an iPhone, and it'll have what we call like a GUID number, which is a alphanumeric serial number, digital serial number to it. And I can take that information. A lot of times I can dissect it a little bit, and I can say, oh, this came from Outlook, or this came from a browser, or that this came from, some other element and not necessarily a cell phone.
I see.
And what's a spoof? A spoof? How do you define that?
So a spoof number would be that I pretend to be you and send out text messages or make phone calls, and on their phone screen it looks like you're making the phone call.
Sarah, I can't believe you don't know what a spoof phone is. That's Matt knows. I guarantee you, Matt knows.
Oh yeah, I'm getting texts daily from the Arabian prince who needs me to send him $3 million.
I think y'all have criminal minds. You have criminal minds.
Yeah.
Hey, Matt misspelled an undercase. Like,
it's so easy. I mean, they're like free applications. You can go online and you can spoof a number and then use it on your phone, and I can call you using any number I want to choose. I mean, it's so easy.
And
but Jim P is saying that essentially someone's cloning your number.
Yeah.
Easy. And here's the rub to that: the spoof services charge you a fraction of a penny to send that text message. So if you think, the individual spending $15-20 every time they want to spoof your phone number, no, it's pennies.
How does
Exactly.
this company
Someone
still
can
exist?
take my number. Hold on, Matt. This is
Yeah.
crazy to me. This is crazy to me. Someone can take my number and essentially clone it, right, on their computer or whatever, and then start harassing Matt.
Yes. And
And
look
Matt's
like
gonna think it's me. What?
Yeah, and it looks like you're the one sending it.
Except it won't show up as an iPhone message, right? It'll show up as like some other different way.
Well, it depends on what services you're using. You know, you ask the question, well, what's the legal, basis for allowing this service to exist? Think of the time you go to your dentist and all of a sudden you get this automated text message that says, in 3 days, your appointment is up. Hit, enter one.
Confirm, whatever.
Yeah, exactly. That's the legitimate service behind that. And it's, like all things out there, it turns negative.
I got a great idea. Matt, you go to one of these spoofing services, put Sarah's number in, and then text her a picture of you in your best bathing suit attire. How about that?
No, he'll send it to you. He'll send it to you.
Yeah.
I'll send it to both of you. All right. I'll share the love.
All right. No, it's so easy to do, Sarah. It's so easy to do. I was at a seminar once, and the guy demonstrated it. It was astonishing. But anyway, so we sort of got off track. But Jim, one of the things that we've been talking about here is cell phone data, cast, and how to locate, your client. Is he at the crime scene, not at the crime scene, and there are other sources of location data, aren't there? Like OnStar on a vehicle and other things. Can you sort of walk through that for us?
Yes, we call that the black box, right? Is that our vehicles are more intelligent than most computers today. They contain a wealth of information about your speed, they're even now starting to put in your location. They're putting in, how fast the engine is turning and how fast it took for you to hit the brake and how much, you're speeding up, or are you in reverse, or you've got a turn signal on, all of this. And they classify it, a lot of it as diagnostic information, just in case something goes wrong with your car, the mechanic can hook up a connector to it, get all that information out and see what's going on. But now investigators have seen that this is a huge resource. Beyond the tag readers that they have, they can do that big dump of that black box and get all that information. And most of the time it's in plain language. It's going to tell you brake was stopped, or the brakes were pumped, or that the steering wheel was abruptly turned to the left or the right, went into park, the engine was in idle, and what the idle speed was.
And it'll give you a location, GPS data.
Well, yeah, but hold on. That just means the car was there. It doesn't mean the person was in the car. You still need more, right?
That's the same argument you have with a phone. Just because you have data that says where a phone is.
You could have had your phone.
Absolutely.
Right. But that's what obviously we always deal with circumstantial evidence. So that's just one piece of the puzzle. But then, when you go into a store and you've been there before and your phone automatically connects to their Wi-Fi, that issue actually came up in the Gilgo Beach case, the Rex Heuermann case, the guy from Long Island who is charged with serial killing of sex workers. They found his burner phones were connecting, the burner phones that were calling the family members and taunting them after the murders of these women were connecting to the Wi-Fi at his office in Manhattan, where he's an architect. So that's one of the pieces of evidence that they're using in that case. So besides the car, the location services on the phone, and what Jim is saying on the car, the OnStar, the location services on the phone, and the Wi-Fi connectivity to an IP address. Is there any other locations?
We talked about these Snapchat and all these other services. Right.
Yeah, there's really kind of three buckets. Whenever I get involved with a case, I start with the cellular data is really the last of it, because it's not as pinpoint accurate as getting GPS data, right? So the tower, I may be 3 to 7 miles in this diameter in this area. That's a big area if you're downtown like Atlanta, or you're in LA. That's a big area to cover. But if I can get GPS, I'm going to zero in to maybe 50, 60 feet. Now I can start building what we call geofencing, and I can be within 3 feet depending on just how good my data is. Where do we get the geofencing? A lot of times we'll get it from Google or, one of those big houses that's just taking all your data, and your phone it's talking to a router or a switch or a modem at a house. And now I can pin down sometimes to the room you're in within the house by getting that geofencing data put together.
It can be that specific?
Oh, yeah. I want you to think about, let's say you walk into Walmart and all of a sudden you get a text message about a blue light special in Walmart.
They know you just walked in.
Exactly. It's
Right.
the same.
Unbelievable.
How are we not living in a world without crime at this point? Like, like what? You're such an idiot. Like, we got everything, buddy. You're done. You're done.
It is Big Brother. It is Big
Well,
Brother.
and you think about it, Koberger, one of the first things that people were saying is that he's a criminology PhD. Like, how could he not commit the perfect crime? Like, how could he not know not to use his own phone? But again, it takes you back to the Rex Heuermann guy who was using burner phones. And even that was, he used them to call, and then, they traced it to his IP. It's absolutely incredible to me. One of the things I recently found out, as Jim was talking about the apps, I found out that Twitter, I think before it became X, was also recording your location. And I shut that down. When I found out, I asked my friend Rosalie, who works for Chris Cuomo, because she knows all this stuff. I said, shut this down. Like, the last place I want people to know where I'm at is on Twitter. Like,
it's pretty intrusive. I mean, it knows no mercies, right? It doesn't care that you're inside of a church. It doesn't care if you're in the bathroom. I mean, it's picking it up.
Right.
And it's telling somebody, and somebody is storing it, and somebody is selling that.
Exactly. Yeah. Jim, I have a tech question about GPS on the phone, and simply this: is the phone getting the GPS readings directly from a satellite? Because when I go offshore in my boat, I get outside of cell phone range, and my GPS on my phone's not working. My satellite on my boat's working. But so is there some interplay between towers and GPS data, or is it just getting it straight from the sky?
It's usually getting it straight from the sky. I mean,
Interesting.
Satellites are a million miles away, and yet it's got that accuracy. And
every time we record a podcast, Jimmy G comes up with Jimmy G has a list of things that he's wanted to know for like months and months.
I'm just wondering why I'm paying all this money for this navigation on this boat when I can just take my phone.
Exactly right. Well, you learn something. So I wanna close off with a very interesting case that you're an expert in, Jim P. You're an expert.
All right, and there's the link for the episode if you'd like to finish it. We'll go ahead and switch. There's another video that I have, actually a couple small videos that I have when it comes to this triangulation stuff that we're going to check out before we get into some more of the University of Idaho and the University of Phoenix purchase. Not only was it Arizona, you were right, Yoli, there is Arkansas as well. And we'll be going into a little bit of that after we're done with this cell phone stuff. Thank you all for hanging out. Please hit the like if you haven't yet. It's the free way to help. What's up?
So Arkansas was trying to
buy
this.
Arkansas.
Oh, I was right. Okay.
As I was looking up, it was a while, like earlier in the show, I was looking up stuff with that gym guy that we just watched, and then I came across an Arkansas article that also was going to purchase but backed out. So we're going to read through that.
Yes.
Yeah.
Oh, good. I'm glad my memory was good.
Yeah, Arkansas. Yeah. I'm sure I was even looking up, like, there's so many lawsuits, people. No, for real. When and we'll be getting into it more tomorrow. And tomorrow night probably. When I was looking up stuff, because I wanted to know, like after the show this morning, that's when I started hearing this stuff about the University of Phoenix's bad press and all this other. So in between the shows, I started looking up stuff about the University of Phoenix, and man, there is so many lawsuits lawsuits galore against
Yeah.
the University of
And
Phoenix.
is
It's
it
crazy.
because does it say what the lawsuits are about, or you just found lawsuits?
It ranges from practices all the way to if it's a legit college, down to students
Yeah.
and them not reporting certain things that were taking place too when it came to the web stuff. Yeah, it's there's so many. It would be a show in its own. It's crazy. And you don't even have, just all you have to do is type in just Google University of Phoenix online negative press, and then you'll see all the freaking lawsuits one after another.
Well, you know, there's nothing like going into a classroom, and I'm just so glad that all of my education was going into a classroom, even law school, because now everything's online, and I don't know if that messes things up, but there is something about going into a classroom and, you know, doing the work and coming back every day or whatever your class is and the discipline it takes, you know, instead of doing it at your own time, you know, because people get used to that, doing it at your own time. And a lot of times you can't do it at your own time in life. You got to do it when it comes, like the work. So anyway, but that was just my thought on that online. I would imagine there's probably a lot of people who did online studies who can't get jobs.
Yeah, there's 85. They have an enrollment at 85,000 students on the University of Phoenix online. 85,000 students. Yeah.
Yeah.
There was even like cyberbullying that came from it. Yeah, like there's so many lawsuits, people, and it's right there. As soon as you look it up, you could go one after another. Just type in, for real, just Google University of Phoenix online negative press, and you'll see one after another. It's just because I was like, man, maybe there's just a couple or something, you know, and we'll go ahead and we'll talk about it tonight. And then as I looked at it, I was like, there's no way I can fit that into tonight's show. There's no way. There's no way. So here's the link to the current video. This is Can Police Track My Cell Phone? Of course. So we're going to listen. This is attorney Ron Frey. He only has 14 subscribers. This video was from 5 years ago. He is a Tampa Bay criminal defense lawyer. Go show him some love. I hit the like button, and I even left a little peace, love, and trophy. Definitely go show the love. All right, we're going to check this out real quick.
Law enforcement legally track your location using historic cell phone records, cell site records. The United States Supreme Court case of Carpenter answers this question. In the Carpenter case, the FBI obtained approximately 12,898 different location points that recorded the defendant's location over a period of approximately 127 days. The FBI secured the data from wireless carriers without first securing a warrant based upon probable cause. The Supreme Court sought to answer the question whether a warrant was required to get that data. So wireless carriers, like many companies, collect data from their customers, and wireless carriers collect data associated with their customers' usage of their services. When you use a cell phone, generally, the cellular signal connects to antennas known as cell sites. The companies store this data for a variety of legitimate business purposes. And as a result, the records are able to record information pertaining to the location of a particular cell phone at specific times. In the Carpenter case, the FBI was able to secure phone numbers of robbery suspects, and the investigators and prosecutors thereafter secured a court order pursuant to the Stored Communications Act. This order required the wireless carriers to produce the requested cell site records. However, the standard that's employed to obtain an order under the Stored Communications Act is much lower than the probable cause standard that is required to obtain a valid search warrant. Specifically, the act required the government to simply show that reasonable grounds for believing the records were relevant and material to an ongoing investigation. So that's a very low standard. All the government had to do was go into court and simply show that there's reasonable grounds for believing the records were relevant and material to an ongoing investigation. That's not the same as the probable cause standard required in order to secure a search warrant. As a result, the defendant in Carpenter filed a motion to suppress the evidence associated with the cell site location data. The motion argued essentially that the Fourth Amendment right to be free from unreasonable searches and seizures was violated when the government seized the records without first securing a search warrant supported by probable cause. Now, the trial court denied the motion to suppress, and Carpenter was convicted. The appeal was first presented to the Sixth Circuit Court of Appeals, and the appellate court upheld the conviction and affirmed the decision of the trial court. However, the case was ultimately appealed to the Supreme Court of the United States, and in June of 2018, the Supreme Court overturned the decision and held that the provision under the Stored Communication Act falls well short of the probable cause standard that's required for the issuance of a search warrant. As such, the Act is not a permissible mechanism for the government to utilize in order to secure historical cell site records.
In this video, we are going to show you how mobile tracking works. This is the same mechanism police and law enforcement teams follow to track mobile location activity in a criminal case, as well as for tracking lost and stolen mobiles. First, let's learn how mobile phones generally work. Mobile phone network consists of the cellular service area. It's a hexagon-shaped virtual area that consists of cell phone towers. These towers maintain bidirectional communication with all mobiles within the grid. Let's take a scenario. If you turn your phone on, it immediately contacts the cell phone towers in the area to get the signal and registers its presence. In general, there will be more than one tower on your grid. Depending on your location and proximity to the cell tower, signal strength and bidirectional communication take time. Generally, this is represented as RTT, which stands for round trip time. So, now the point here is, for example, if you are 300 meters away from a cell phone tower 1, the RTT will be somewhere between 3 to 5 milliseconds. Being at the same location, you are 500 meters away from cell phone tower 2, where RTT will be 8 to 10 milliseconds. These round trip times analyzed on a chart help to locate the exact location of the mobile phone. This process is called triangulation. Police and law enforcement agencies rely on principles of triangulation to track down the phone. Because the nature of the cellular network allows the phone to communicate with a number of nearby cell towers, and for each cell to evaluate the signal strength of the phone. Network analysis software can estimate the distance of the phone from each tower. If the phone communicates with 3 or more towers, triangulation software can use the phone's signal strength from each tower to estimate the geographic position of the phone on a 3-dimensional plane. Triangulation is proven to be 70 to 80% efficient. There is another technique similar to triangulation, but instead of mobile network RTTs, it uses GPS. This process is called Global Positioning System Triangulation. GPS location works much like cellular triangulation, rather than relying on 3 local cells, though GPS relies on very precise signals from 12 or more satellites in lower orbit. With many more reference points, the phone can identify its own location to within a few feet. Generally, the apps you install in the background track and report GPS location points, which can be used to locate a precise location. GPS triangulation is proven to be 90% efficient. Because the phone reports its location based on GPS positioning, wireless carriers can relay a relatively precise location for the phone to emergency response teams, police, and other government officials in real time. We hope this video is informative. Let us know your feedback in the comments section below. See you in the next video. Till then.
All right. So that was a little bit about the digital forensic cell phone stuff. I love those little informative videos. And what a conversation. I'm going to have to listen to that one again. That was a great conversation that they talked about all that stuff a lot. They went into a lot. And now, Yoli, you don't have to worry about the hair anymore. I want to
Oh
say
my
shout out
God.
to Caddy. I want to say shout out to people are still making comments in chat. They must be on delay.
Oh my God.
Shout out to Caddy. This is a link for the Idaho Department of Transportation, or I should say Idaho Transportation Department is what they're called. And you can
So this
literally
is from the state.
Yeah, there's 12 cameras in Moscow.
Yeah, see?
And look, when you look at this, these right here, this camera, this camera, this camera, this camera,
Yeah.
this camera, this camera, this camera, this camera, this camera, and that camera should have all got him on surveillance. That's just Moscow.
And this is
Yeah, I'll drop
It
the link in
says,
private if you wanted to.
state. Oh yeah. Yeah, this is it. This is it. Yeah. These are not erased. I mean, they're kept. They're not. The state ones are not. And in California, I know they keep them for a while because they track accidents. And so if there's like Twitter reports, or not Twitter, I forget what they're called, Switter reports. And so the Department of Transportation in California keeps these Switters reports because they track how many accidents happen in a certain location. And I've worked on road design cases, a couple, where the way the road was designed causes accidents. And so they have cameras which they can go back to every accident in California, the Caltrans, they can go back for every accident and see the video. So I know that the state has to keep stuff on state highways. So anyway, that's all.
Yeah, and you can see that I would have hit all those cameras. Now we already discussed the Pullman, the internship program that they have. I've already, here's the route right here. If you want to see for yourself where all the cameras are, that's the footage right there. And you can see literally that the cameras in Pullman, the cameras in Moscow, and then you can literally get photographs or video of the vehicles like this. I don't know. So, University of Arkansas. We're going to talk about that for a minute. Oh, hold on 1 second. We need to do a judge subscriber update. 3.95 is where Judge is at now. I'm so excited for this trial. I hope it starts soon. I hope. I know it probably won't. I just hope. But I'm so thankful that we get a camera in the courtroom. The people won. The MSM lost. The defense lost. The prosecution lost. The people won. Because we deserve, justice deserves for there to be a camera in that courtroom, especially with all this questionable stuff and that somebody's life is on the line. It is very important. So here is the link to this article. This is the Arkansas possible purchase of the University of Phoenix. So I'm going to go ahead and read through this article. And then we're going to watch a video that we watched on this morning's episode because I felt that it was very telling when it came to the quickness of the deal and the position that all these people are in. And I want you to see when this guy explains how everything went down in the process and what's being kept secret. I want you guys to see how similar it is. That's why I said it's a shady shit novel and they just got the Cliff Notes version, because they just took a little part of it and applied it, and it seems so similar to how the PCA was applied. So we'll get into that next. This is the article. Again, here is the link for that. It says Arkansas System Board rejects deal to buy University of Phoenix. Dive brief. The University of Arkansas Systems Governing Board on Monday narrowly rejected a deal to acquire the University of Phoenix, a beleaguered for-profit institution that has shed hundreds of thousands of students in the last decade. And they're at 85,000 right now. So they must have been having some problems because it's shed and it's a for-profit. University of Idaho is turning this whole deal into a nonprofit. You'll see what I'm saying when we get into it after this article. Trustees voted against the arraignment 5-4 with one abstention. They were not voting to approve a sale, but rather were signaling whether they were for or against it. Under the proposal, a system-affiliated nonprofit would acquire the primarily online University of Phoenix. A system affiliated, which the University of Idaho says what a system affiliated nonprofit, theirs is called New You. New You. And you'll see what I mean when we get into it. Arkansas System President Donald Bobbitt has said it would be difficult to move forward with the project without the board's support. That's statement remains true, and he is certainly disappointed in the outcome of the meeting. The system spokesperson said in an email Monday, yeah, probably because they were told about all the possible riches that, the guy that had the great sales pitch that became the president of the University of Idaho, they probably liked that sales pitch, and I'm sure it had the similar promises of blessings. The Arkansas system interest in the University of Phoenix raised eyebrows in the higher education of the world. After all, the for-profit chain, once considered one of the most premier institutions of its kind, has suffered a precipitous enrollment drop amid mountains of bad press. The institution exemplified critiques of the for-profit sector. Namely, it relies on misleading marketing tactics to enroll students, especially vulnerable prospects like those in the military. For-profit colleges like the University of Phoenix then leave graduates saddled with ruinous amounts of debt, critics argue. In 2019, the University of Phoenix struck a $191 million settlement with the Federal Trade Commission over accusations it lied about its relationships with major employers like Adobe and Microsoft in advertisements. Several months later, the Department of Veterans Affairs threatened to block the university and 4 others from accepting GI Bill benefits over concerns about false advertising. The agency ultimately backed down. After reaching a peak of almost 500,000 students in 2010, enrollment at the University of Phoenix fell to about 86,000 as of fall of 2021, according to the most recently available federal data. It is at 85,000 now, currently. Some Arkansas system trustees referenced the university's checkered reputation during a Monday meeting. In Idaho, it was non-disclosure, and they didn't know about it until 2 days before they needed a decision. Faculty on the system's Fayetteville campus raised similar concerns last month. Trustee Sheffield Nelson said during the meeting he's fielded many calls about the University of Phoenix notoriety since news of a potential deal went public months ago. He voted against the arraignment. Another trustee, Kevin Krass, said he was troubled the board would have limited authority over the nonprofit entity that would run the University of Phoenix. University of Idaho, hush hush. The board of that nonprofit, Transformative Education Services, or TES Incorporated, would include some system trustees. Krass said, however, the trustees needed to recognize their giving up control. He also voted against it. System officials have said TES Incorporated acquired the University of Phoenix instead of the system directly is strategic. The structure would insulate the system and its leaders from the for-profit's debt and any potential legal troubles. The system has also stressed that only private money and no public funds would go toward the deal, just like the University of Idaho said, and it's a bunch of BS. Under the proposal, the University of Phoenix would retain its name but be able to use the Arkansas system branding. In return, the system could tap into the University of Phoenix's marketing mechanisms, Arkansas officials have said. The system has said it anticipates the deal could bring in $20 million in revenue. The Arkansas Times, which first reported the possible deal, said the system's nonprofit could pay $500 million to $700 million for the for-profit institution. University of Idaho paid $550, but it's coming mostly from non-taxable and taxable bonds, which who buys the bonds? Hello. And then if it doesn't work, then the university is going to offer up $10 million a year just in case. Is a bunch of bullshit. Shady, 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 shady. What's up, Grizz? Shady leaves you with debt and no job. That's crazy. They were at one time over 500,000 enrollees, and now they're down to 85 because of their bullshit practices. That's why I said it's like an NFL team picking a star quarterback, the number one pick that just had an ACL surgery. Two of them.
Yeah.
You're rolling your dice.
Yeah. So a lot of people, they go, like, I know a lot of people, they go to these law schools that are online, but they're not accredited by the American Bar Association.
Yeah.
They're accredited only like with the California bar, which means they can only practice in California. So if you get a degree from a law school that's only accredited in California, it's not the same as getting a degree from an ABA accredited university. So I made sure, like, if I'm going to get loans and pay for this shit, I'm going to be able to be practicing in any state. I don't give a shit. I'm going to pay this. I'm not going to be limited to California. So I went to an accredited ABA accredited law school. So, but you know, there's a lot of people who don't do that, and they go to these religious law schools, these other law schools that are accredited by California, and they don't learn anything. Like the bar pass rate is so low, and it's like, you know, something should be done about that, because, you know,
You still there? Hello? I think you cut out or something.
Hello?
You stopped in mid-sentence. Yeah, you
Hello?
stopped
Can you hear
in
me?
mid-sentence. Yeah, I can hear you now. You stopped in like mid-sentence.
I'm
So go ahead and
sorry.
repeat what you were saying.
Yeah, I was just saying that I made sure I went to an accredited law school, like ABA accredited, which is American Bar Association accreditation, because a lot of people go to these law schools that are like accredited by only California Bar Association, which means they can only practice in California. And so but now, like, Oregon has done away with the bar exam, so anybody could go to any kind of accredited law school in Oregon and be an attorney and not have to take the bar exam, which is scary because, you know, you have a fiduciary duty to clients, and that has to be taught. You have to have it in you, and you also have to be taught. So the bar exam in California, it's a two-step process. It's not just the bar exam, but it's also a they Sorry, did I cut out?
Yeah, you cut out again.
I'm sorry.
Oh, you're fine. Technology, you know.
Yeah. So anyway, I'm just glad I went to an accredited university because from the American Bar Association, because there are a lot of people who go like to California accredited universities, which means they can only practice in California. And now in Oregon, you don't even have to take the bar exam. I mean, when I took the bar exam, it was a classic bar exam. It was 3 days. It was hell. Now it's 2 days, and now they lowered the score to pass. So, you know, a lot of people pass, but it's terrible. In Oregon, there's a bill that now is passed that they don't even have to take the bar exam. So
shit's crazy over there, for real. Shit is definitely crazy over there. Even the substances that are legal, it's like, wow. I don't know.
Well, there's a reason. Yeah, there's a reason why it's called the bar exam. You have to meet a certain level, you know?
Crazy.
And there's also the moral character examination. There's 2 parts in California. One is a bar exam, and then they investigate you to see if you like your moral turpitude. Like they investigate you, you know, and so there's 2 parts. Some people pass the bar, but they can't get their moral character passed.
No, I think, yeah, they had, because you remember, no wonder their enrollment was over 500,000 at one point.
It's online.
You remember, it was always, I mean, hell, you'd be watching TV back in 2010. You'd be watching TV and you couldn't get away from watching or seeing a University of Phoenix online commercial, especially if you were one that stayed up late at night. You saw 2 of them during a commercial break. That's how much they used to pump it. I'm serious.
So yes,
it's a scam.
Yes.
It's a scam to take your fucking money, like D. Smith said, to take your money. You become dissatisfied. You're out of the schooling, and you're out of fucking money.
Yes, that's true. And you know, a lot of people did their, like, paralegals who had like a 2-year certificate in paralegal studies. They went to the University of Phoenix to try to get their bachelor's so they can go to law school. And so, you know, you have these people who may or may not be good students, who may or may not have what it takes to go to law school, but they get their bachelor's, and they get it through the University of Phoenix. They don't get it through like Cal State Fullerton. I mean, I went to Cal State Fullerton. It's California State University. It's like, look, you got to go to class. You got to do what you need to do. You're there, and showing up is a big part of this. And if you're online and, like, I don't know, you got to show up to class. You got to be disciplined. And I always believed in that. And now that everything is online, you know, these people, they go to the University of Phoenix and they do it on their own time. And it's like, guess what? I couldn't do it on my own time. I had to go when the classes were scheduled. That's part of the test. You sacrifice and you go to class and you do the work and you take the tests and you get your degree. But these online communities, like these online universities, they say, oh, you can do it at your own pace and you can do this. And that's good if you have somebody with good intentions. But if you have somebody who just wants to get the degree and just go for it, like just...
Well, yeah, and they're going to be the ones that don't end up finishing it anyway. I mean,
right.
And I'm coming from a perspective like this, okay? When I started the show, I considered the YouTube running a show as school. I had to learn, right? That's why I say everything that started from this show and as it goes on is all organic, because this is all stuff that I had to start off learning on my own because nobody wanted to take the time. The other creators didn't want to take the time to help me learn it or figure it out or even answer any of the questions I had about it. So I literally had to do it myself. Now, not that I was like friends with a bunch of creators. People really didn't know me anyway. I was just somebody that hung out in the chat and watch some true crime shows amongst other things. But when I started, there was a couple people that were like, never got any help. I had to learn it all on my own, everything. So, when it comes to that, I looked at it as schooling. And that's one of the things. I'm glad that I don't have to go to a class to do my work for the show, because literally I have so much work for the show that even though I went 24/7 on YouTube, I said if I have the availability to transfer that time that I used to transfer to the show, like that's where I'm putting it. And it's still the same. I am just as busy as I am before I am now, but I'm glad I don't have to go somewhere, because then that would literally take time out of me being able to focus more on the work. And I totally understand the online schooling, because hell, look at the economy now. You damn near have to have 2 jobs just to make it, almost. And then
Yes.
you're going to try and go to school too. Hell, people can't even make it to the gym because they don't have enough time for the travel. I totally, like, yeah, I
But you
would
see,
have to
that's
be the
why the
person where.
online.
Go ahead.
Oh, I'm sorry. That's why the
Okay.
online, like Phoenix University, is attractive, because
Yeah, single mothers that don't have time.
yes,
You
and
know
it's
what I mean? Like, there's a
attractive.
lot of, even me, I wouldn't have if I had to take time out of devoting to the research and the work to the show to go travel somewhere to be able to do the research and the work, then you're talking
I
like
know.
an hour or 2 less a day. And that hour and 2 is very important when it comes to time. I totally like
Yes.
I would, if I'm in a position where I had to do that, totally down with it. And I'm glad that it's offered, because there were a lot of people out there that didn't have the opportunity to do that unless it was something like that. And it's unfortunate that the University of Phoenix used that as a scam to rip these people that needed that kind
It's
of opportunity because they couldn't afford the time. And now you made it to where they couldn't even afford other things because you took their money.
yes.
Horrible.
I totally agree. And you know what? There's a lot of law schools that do the same goddamn shit, and it pisses me off. But you know what? I guess it shouldn't. I mean, I went, I see what's happening, and I see when you don't have somebody who has to meet a certain standard to practice law, then you have problems, because they're trying to fix this situation with lawyers. So they have this thing with Tom Girardi, that was the Real Housewives attorney, the attorney that was married to the Real Housewives, Jessica Jane or whatever her name is. He stole money for years. Okay. He smoozed everybody. Like, he was friends with everybody. People, he was like, we even had cases associated with him. He was like the top tier of plaintiff's attorneys. But guess what? He was defrauding everybody. And he made friends with the state bar. So the state bar, California State Bar, is trying to put in provisions to prevent that. But at the same time, they're making it easier for attorneys to become attorneys, which, no, you should not be making it easier. That's part of the problem. They have to meet a certain standard, like I did. Okay. There's no, you know what? It's true. Not too many people pass the bar in California and New York the very first time. I passed it the very first time. So when I see this happening, they're reducing they're lowering the grade, the pass score. They're lowering all these things in
It's
Oregon.
crazy.
Now you don't even need a bar exam. I mean, come on.
Crazy. It's crazy.
Anyway,
I could move to Oregon and have a lawyer show.
and I could sponsor you there. I could sponsor you there, because I would have a
move to
license
Oregon.
there without
Yeah. There we go.
taking the bar.
Yeah.
I could sponsor
There
you.
we
You
go.
could be
That
under an
sounds-
apprentice, and there you go. You
Yeah.
don't even need to take the bar. All I have to do is sign off.
Shit. I just
No,
need to go
man.
get a I just need to go get a suit and a tie. That's it. That's it.
No, there's a lot more to it, but you know, if somebody
I know.
if somebody wants to become an attorney under me, and I've had people like from Florida, I'm local counsel, and they have to, and so they don't know. So huge cases, like huge cases. This Florida firm it's the Ratson Law Group. Now they're called, I don't know, they changed their name, but it's the Ratson Law Group in Florida. And so I was local counsel for them, meaning I sponsored them in California to handle the case. So I have to deal with all the procedural stuff, not necessarily the medical malpractice, because that's pretty standard around most states. So yeah, so I had to make sure they dealt with the civil procedure of California. And it was very hard to do, but you know, there's reasons for that, so that they don't, I mean, they could have fucked up the whole case on procedural grounds if they didn't have a local counsel. And so you go through the state bar who approves me to be local counsel for them, and they're admitted pro hoc vice. That's what it's called, pro hoc vice. When another attorney from another state comes to practice on a case, you have a state attorney monitoring you, like for the procedural stuff. I mean, they could have fucked it up 10 ways all over the place, because the procedures, technicalities, those things, you know. And at the end of the day, we got a good result, and it was during COVID, and we settled it for lots of money, and it was warranted. So I think I talked about it. It was the 26-year-old lady who had a baby for the first time. She's brain damaged, wears diapers, can't take care of her baby. Horrible.
Yeah,
but you know, you can't lower standards. And I look at this University of Phoenix and I think, you guys, what are you doing? Like, you're just no. Because it's going to hurt the community in the long run if you don't have people who are qualified.
Yeah, because it trickles down. I mean,
It does.
it may suit their pockets, but it doesn't suit necessarily the communities. And that's one of the things that, like, it looks to me is going on, is like the university.
Yeah, and just because
so
you're a
much
minority,
shit.
this may cause some. Yeah, and this may cause some division among people, but just because you're a minority doesn't mean you don't have to meet the standard. It means maybe there should be more help for minorities to meet the standard, but you got to meet the standard. You gotta. Because otherwise there's no difference between a doctor or somebody who works at Albertsons. You got to have a standard. And, you know, I mean, you can't lower the standard because people are disadvantaged. I mean, no, you got to help them more. You got to give them more opportunities to reach out, you know, more. But that doesn't, you know, the individual has to be able to accept that help and move on and compete, you know, compete with.
The University of Phoenix Online is a scam.
It's not doing that.
And are you still there?
Anyway, I'm here.
Okay. I think you're cutting out again. The University of Phoenix Online is a freaking money grab scam. And when this is a video, here's the link for it if you want it for your records. This is a video where one of the gentlemen is actually discussing the deal, how the deal went down, the things that they had questions about. It's pretty informative. If you don't have it saved to your playlist or records, you'll definitely want it saved, because there's a lot of very interesting stuff in this video when it comes to the deal itself. And we're looking at early next year. It's still not done for sure, But early next year, I guess, is when they're looking at it to be completed. So listen to this. Listen to how shady this shit went down.
First, on Wednesday, news broke that the University of Idaho has been in talks for months to acquire the University of Phoenix for $550 million. On Thursday, just one day after that news became public, the State Board of Education unanimously approved a request from UI to form a nonprofit that would handle that acquisition. Here to discuss is Kevin Richert of Idaho Education News. Kevin, it's been quite a week.
It really has been. And this news about U of I and University of Phoenix came from out of nowhere. And we're just now starting to come to grips with the enormity of this transaction. I mean, this is a $550 million purchase. It involves $685 million of bonding to cover everything. That is about as much as we're going to spend as a state on the four-year colleges and universities in 2023, 24. It is a staggering amount of money. And it is a process that has unfolded in rapid fire over the past 48 hours.
You touched on this briefly, but this money isn't coming from just cash on hand that the university has. This is from bonds that the nonprofit will acquire. Right.
The separate entity, the nonprofit New U, would be doing the bonding to acquire the project, to acquire University of Phoenix. And the University of Idaho has been careful to say that there's no taxpayer money involved in the bonding. There is some financial risk, though, for the university.
Let's talk a little bit about that financial risk. What does it look like, and how do we get there? What's the path to see that risk?
The path would come if New U was unable to make its payments to cover the purchase of University of Phoenix. At that point, the university would step in to the tune of up to $10 million per year to backstop those payments. Now, that is a fail-safe, and it's not immediately clear to me exactly where within the university's budget that's going to come if that were to come to pass.
There are a lot of things that aren't clear.
There's a lot we're still trying to sort out here.
One of the questions that I had was, New U, this nonprofit that was the university is forming to handle, they're bonding with state authority.
Correct.
How can it do that and taxpayers not be on the hook?
That's a really good question. I mean, I think there's a lot of governance questions, there's a lot of process questions that we're trying to sort out. And really,
they don't know.
On Thursday, the state board met for 90 minutes before voting unanimously to give the U of I the go-ahead to proceed on this purchase.
They met for 90 minutes. They had 2 days notice and they got to meet for 90 minutes to decide about the go-ahead of this purchase or not. This is how ridiculous this is. Why should there be a non-disclosure agreement when you've had all of these other universities backing out of the deal when the purchase is about to happen? Because you didn't want them to see and the same thing to happen. 2 days notice. Thank you for doing that, Katrina. My bad about the fat finger. 2 days notice. And they met for 90 frickin' minutes. And when she asked him about the public, well, that's a good question.
To pass.
There are a lot of things that aren't clear.
There's a lot we're still trying to sort out here.
One of the questions,
a lot of things that aren't clear. A lot of things are still trying to sort out.
This nonprofit that was the university is forming to handle, they're bonding with state authority.
Correct.
How can it do that and taxpayers not be on the hook?
Exactly.
That's a really good question. I mean, I think there's a lot.
Yeah. How do you make a frickin' flux capacitor for real life? That's a good question. That's a good question.
A lot of governance questions, there's a lot of process questions that we're trying to sort out. And really, what we had on Thursday, the state board met for 90 minutes before voting unanimously to give the U of I the go-ahead to proceed on this purchase. There were a lot of nitty-gritty questions that were being asked in that meeting, to be fair. But a lot of it was focused on the money flow. How is the University of Idaho going to make money off of this deal? And we really haven't talked about that yet. How would that backstop, that $10 million fail-safe kick in? That was really the focus of the meeting. These process questions, these governance questions, are still, still questions we need to sort out.
One more question on the governance issue. So the two universities will operate independently. They'll have separate leadership and presidents. But this separate nonprofit entity, New U, it's still connected to the University of Idaho, to be clear. I mean, its address is the Kibbe Dome in Moscow.
Right. And
wow.
The individual heading the
address is the Kibbe Dome, where the frickin' football team plays. What? I missed that earlier. The address is the Kibbe Dome. I drove by it. It's a freaking dome with a grass and parking lot. That's a grass lot and a parking lot. And a dome that don't even look like a real dome. Wow.
The New U board at this point appears to be the council for the university. So the connections between New U and U of I are pretty clear.
At Thursday's meeting, one of the board members touched on this, but University of Phoenix doesn't have the best reputation nationally and hasn't for some time. Even if UI isn't financially on the hook for these issues, what's the potential hit to UI's reputation here when it acquires this for-profit entity?
I think that's something that the U of I is really going to have to work on. I think that the messaging and the framing of this merger, let's call it a merger for lack of a better word, that's going to be something that the U of I is going to have to deal with. Now, Scott Green, the president of the U of I, talked about the reputational issues on Thursday, and he acknowledged that University of Phoenix has had problems in the past. He insists that this new team that really wants to go the nonprofit route, really wants to get back to nonprofit education, student-centric service. He thinks that they're wanting to turn the page as much as the U of I wants to partner with an online vendor. So we'll see. But if you watch social media over the past couple of days, everybody has a wisecrack about this merger and about the University of Phoenix. And fair or unfair, that's something the U of I is going to have to combat over the next few months or years.
I think the least negative reaction I saw was, well, that's weird. Most of the reaction that I have seen, and I went to the university. I still have so many friends and connections there, and there was a lot of frustration with how this happened secretly. The University of Phoenix compelled University of Idaho to sign a non-disclosure agreement.
Right.
So these talks have been going on for months, even though we have only known about it for 48 hours.
Right.
48 hours.
3 executive sessions involving the State Board of Education dating back to March, while the university was operating in the
PCA. 48 hours?
Yeah, 48 hours while they were operating under the non-disclosure agreement. They didn't want fucking people to know.
And nobody knows, and they had to.
They had 48 hours to
Make a
decide,
decision
and they
within
met
48
for 90
hours?
minutes. And they met for 90 minutes. And then Scott Green's response was, it's not, I typically wouldn't do a deal like this, but sometimes you have to make business decisions.
Oh my God.
And his ass was dipped in the honey the whole time.
Wow.
The business decision was, look, everybody, we're going to lose enrollment. We might as well roll the dice and take our chances.
Jeez.
Because what's the worst that could happen if this doesn't fall through? We
That's
lose
true.
enrollment. We lose enrollment
That is
anyway.
true.
So let's roll the dice. Like
That's
I said this morning,
businessman.
I found out the reason the president was hired was because they liked his sales pitch.
Wow.
It's fucking crazy. Yeah, we're gonna be getting this. There's more shows we're gonna, and I'm sure we're gonna be uncovering more and more as we go on. Shout out to the mods. Shout out to the community. Thank you for all your help in this as well. The shit's crazy. It just and this guy is totally honest. That's why I said this is a video you definitely want to keep.
That was a question that came up in the state board meeting on Thursday.
About it for 48 hours. So to sign a non-disclosure agreement. So these talks have been going on for months, even though we have only known about it for 48 hours.
Right. We had the 3 executive sessions involving the State Board of Education dating back to March, while the university was operating under the NDA. That was a question that came up in the state board meeting on Thursday.
So it's like you're going in front of the judge and you're waving a Christmas stocking full of what you think is Kit Kats and Hot Wheels. Again, this is why I'm saying, as we continue to go on into this video, you're like, holy shit. They took it from the shady shit novel, but just got the cliff notes because it's so fucking similar. It's crazy.
Thursday, President Green said, look, in order to have a conversation with the University of Phoenix, we had to go the NDA route. But I think that is leaving a lot of people with
which
questions,
is bullshit.
With skepticism. One of those people, by the way,
they want that business sold. They want that business sold. It wasn't them that wanted the NDA. It was fucking the University of Idaho that wanted the NDA. Why would the University of Phoenix want an NDA when they're just waiting for... You got all these colleges trying to purchase them until they get the books. Their business is already out there. Why in the fuck do they need an NDA? You know what I'm saying? Their business is already out there. Why would they? It makes no sense. No, Mr. Green, you're a lying ass motherfucker, and you're the one that wanted the fucking NDA because it's shady ass shit. You got to roll the dice. Cliff notes.
President Green said, look, in order to have a conversation with the University of Phoenix, we had to go the NDA route. But I think that is leaving a lot of people with questions, a lot of people with skepticism. One of those people, by the way, was Representative John Gannon, Democrat from Boise. He sat in on the meeting. He was sitting next to me during the state board meeting on Thursday. He didn't comment. There was no public comment, period, during the state board meeting on Thursday. Afterwards, he wrote a letter to the state board expressing his concerns about this process, the secrecy, the kind of take it or leave it. We've got to do this week in order to get an application into the University of Phoenix's accreditors by Friday, today, 2 days out from when this became public. His concern is this is secret. It's kind of got a take it or leave it aspect to it. And this is the right way to be going about this.
And
take it or fucking, I mean,
he isn't the only lawmaker who shared those concerns. I watched the board meeting online. The YouTube channel still had the chat function going, and I saw Representative Mike Kingsley in there, a Republican from Lewiston, who was upset about the same thing, the lack of transparency and the lack of input from lawmakers.
This might be the first time that you're seeing questions about transparency being raised on the same project by the Idaho Statesman's editorial board and the Idaho Freedom Foundation. So if nothing else, the University of Idaho is bringing people together.
You know what? As an alum, I appreciate that. And real quick, before we move on, let's talk about the pluses that President Scott Green was advocating for in this meeting. This has the potential to generate a lot of income for the University of Idaho if it goes well.
Right, and it's still not completely clear to me anyway about how this money all flows. But the way the thing is structured is that the first $10 million of revenue goes straight to the U of I that they can use for strategic initiatives. The university is saying, we think there's going to be a lot more that comes through, that their cash flow is much more favorable than that. So 10 million is really just a starting
Christmas stocking.
They were talking about upwards of $170 million of revenue for the university by the year 2030. There's a lot of money at stake here. And I think really for the university and for the state board, one of the things that they keep pointing to is we need to come up with an online education.
Make it a deal they can't refuse. You know what I'm saying? The Christmas stocking
system in this state. This is maybe the quickest way to do it because University of Phoenix has that platform already in place. It's been in existence for years.
And the state board and University of Idaho were already moving forward with an online platform, Online Idaho, to kind of address some of those concerns, right?
Which the U of I says is still going to be in place. It's still going to be operating as a separate entity, and the U of I's own online classes will continue to operate. So the U of I is really trying to set up a lot of walls here between its operations and the University of Phoenix's operations.
Well, so many questions that we will be looking for answers for over the coming months.
Just getting started here.
President Green, if you want to join us, we would love to have you. So
moving
on,
in
other
joining.
higher education news this week, tuition freezes at those 4-year higher education institutes in Idaho are no longer. What's going on with that? What do we know?
We know that tuition and fees are going to.
And that's talking about other colleges and stuff as well. But I'll put the link in chat again. We did cover it earlier this morning in depth, and I did make a highlight video out of it if you want to check out the whole thing with the commentary from this morning. I'll drop that in chat as well. I'm going to go ahead and end the show for the evening, and I'll be back in the morning. So I appreciate you hopping on, Yoli. Thank you. Thank you all for hanging out tonight.
You're welcome. Thank you for having me.
We'll be going more into it tomorrow and tomorrow night as well, with more of the university stuff. There's so much when it comes to what's involved with it, and that's just a little snippet from the local, how shady it is. Shady as
I've been involved with universities, litigation with universities. Yeah, it's shady.
Well, sorry, D. Smith. Yeah, there's plenty. There's a long show packed full of stuff. If you missed the beginning of the show where there was a discussion about the cell phone digital forensic that we watched from the Presumption podcast, that was a very interesting and intelligent conversation. I need to watch that one again. So.
Yeah.
All right, everybody. I'm going to go ahead and end it. Thank you all for hanging out. Appreciate your company, your conversation. I'll see you tomorrow 2 times. Thank you, Yoli. And good night, everybody. Have a peaceful and positive.
Night.
Good night.